Warning: the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are based on psychic impressions and true life events that may be potentially frightening and or disturbing to some viewers. Any of the information that is shared in this production should not replace the advice of medical professionals and is intended for general purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey Chasity,
Yes.
what's the name of this episode?
Get ready to divulge into some hocus pocus shit with the Sanderson sisters.
Ooh, yas.
Yeah, so not really. We're not going to watch the movie, but actually what I'm referring to is our special guest today. So our special guest is Veronique. She is one of our friends and she does practice her own form of witchcraft. So we've been waiting to kind of cover the craft, you could say, in a way of light, people that work on the lighter side of this craft, because a lot of people are interested in learning a little bit more about being a witch. So we decided to bring on our friend Veronique. She's super special, awesome. And we call ourselves jokingly the Sanderson sisters, just basically because we thought we're weird. I don't know. But we enjoy it. And I made even a reface app of me and Emily and Veronique, and it was hilarious. So we got a kick out of it, but we're not watching the Hocus Pocus movie today. We are going to be talking to Veronique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's going to be like a basic, I guess you could say, introduction to becoming a witch. And she's got some good tips and tricks for people that may be interested and, kind of taking some of the stigma off the word witch or witchcraft, because there's a lot of different things, that kind of go around on the witch talk and other places. And, some people really just enjoy working with elements in nature, and Veronique is one of them. So we're super excited to have her. But yeah, so we have like a 2-hour interview ahead of us. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on in to this week's experiences. Emily, what do you got for us?
So, I was helping somebody with a situation and I learned that if you cleanse your space wrong, if you have portals in your space, those portals can move just like entities or negative energy if you don't cleanse your space right. So, for example, let's say you have negative energy in your house and you only cleanse one room, then it pushes it out of the room, but it's still in the rest of your space or house. So, now with the portal, same thing. They cleansed their space and it pushed the portal into different, well, there was two portals. It pushed the portals into different rooms. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Cuz you didn't cleanse properly." And so I learned that today.
Well, and two, even if you cleanse properly, sometimes portals have to be closed energetically.
Yes.
And if you don't have the capabilities to close portals energetically, then they're still going to be there, because it's everything to do with the energy, grid lines, and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's a plethora of information.
Mhm.
And we
But
may or may not talk about more of that before the end of the season, actually, even though we have a couple guests. So this is like what, episode 28. So we've only got 2 episodes after this. And I think we
mhm.
might end up talking about that a little more as a preface to the last episode, but that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil it.
Mhm.
We're not going to open a portal and come visit people or anything. Nothing crazy.
Well, I mean, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Is there any other experiences you would like to share?
Um, I don't think so. How about you?
Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I was talking about being at my friend's house and how his dog was acting funny and wouldn't go over across the street. There's like a big field and two churches or whatever. Well, he likes to go to the across the field to the woods line to do his business, right? This little dog is like I call him Oreo. His name's Oreo, but I call him Ori Ho because he's always running the streets, right? And
Mhm.
he's a small dog. But Oriho normally gets around and he's not scared at night, and I've seen coyotes and everything. But this dog, like the last couple times before I commenced to clearing that area from the spiritual activity that I was seeing in my mind's eye and the dog was feeling. The validation point is the dog is now finally going back across the street into the field because that's where I opened the portal up to cross over or help to cross over some of the spirits that were there. I know that sounds wild since we're talking about portals. It's kind of on theme, and that was not on purpose. Didn't even correlate that till right now. But yeah, so doing better. Dog's doing good. He's chilling out now. He feels like he's a lot less anxious because he was definitely very anxious before. Then let's see. I was reviewing a deck that I received in the mail this week. It's a pretty cool deck, and I don't know how much I can say about that deck, but some weird shit happened when I got it.
You can say some more if you want.
Okay, so Emily sent me her tester deck for a card she's been working on for like 2 years now, and
1.
oh, I thought it was two. You've been working on this deck ever since I've been talking to you.
Okay, but I didn't
Girl.
start it
Well,
until
from
for like a year.
excuse me. From conception, it's been like 2 years. So definitely give yourself credit because that means you've taken your time to think
Mhm,
about it and to work through it. Well, and I think that's a good thing for sure because you want to take your time. Don't want to rush it. It's easy like
mhm,
projects and stuff, but it's been well worth the wait. I'll put it to you that way. And I was like I'm checking them out because I've got some things I'm going to help her do with the deck, like different processes and procedures and stuff that goes along with oracle cards, right? So I'm not going to get in all the scoop here, but I will say that after I set the deck down, after I went back through them, I cleared them, and I was going to use them soon. I told her that I was going to start validating some of my old cases with them. And I literally set my phone down. I was holding it in my hand, typing something, and I was typing on my computer. No, I set my phone down to from messaging her that, and I was typing on my computer, and my phone was face up next to me, about 3 inches away from my hands. I watched my phone screen swipe, and the haunted. I don't know the exact name of the app, but it's a app where you can look up haunted locations. Maybe I should insert the name of that app here in case they want to sponsor us for giving
mhm.
them a shout out. Maybe I'll just look at the name real quick. Hold on. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it's called Haunted or Not. So it's an app that
Mhm,
you can download and find haunted locations around the United States and maybe even more now. Anyways, it's kind of interesting the name of the app is Haunted or Not because that's kind of what Emily's cards
mhm.
portray. Am I haunted or not? In a way, in a vague way. But that app just opened up on its own. I watched the shit slide. I watched the app open up. And there is really no delay on my phone. My phone is pretty lightning fast. I have a S22 Ultra. It's not low on memory. I even tested it. And I mean, I had set it down within 5 seconds and it did this. Unless my spirit sausage fingers like drifted over there in spirit and I did it myself, I'm not quite sure how it happened. Now, do things like this happen sometimes? Yes. But I think it's just kind of interesting that I was messaging Emily about my intentions with these cards. And yeah, and they also have, when I first got them, they had like a vibration to them. They were tingly. I know that sounds weird. Sometimes you can pick up on the energy of a deck when you get them, especially if you're an intuitive person that's been working with decks for a while. You can kind of feel the energy with them. But it was definitely kind of a prickly type vibrational energy associated with them. So me and Emily are going to explore this more to see why, when, where, and how that could have possibly happened. Let's see, 2 or 3 nights ago, I ended up going to sleep and taking a little nap, and I slept for an hour and a half, and I woke up approximately at 7:30ish Eastern Standard Time. This is important. And I tell my fiance, I tell my son, and I tell Emily that I had the strangest dream. And this is it's kind of funny. It's really somewhat funny, but then it turns not so funny. I'm in the dream and I'm in like this dark, black, long, singular tunnel, but it has different wings off to the side. It's definitely underground. It's a square tunnel. There's rooms and there's hallways off to the side, but there was an objective, and I just knew this objective. And I just knew that I was a part of some type of paranormal investigation headed by Colin from the Paranormal Files. It's fucking wild. But anyways, I just knew, and there was these other people around me, and the whole purpose was to make it down this hallway. It's just a straight shot, and they had some like tiny little lights off to the side so you could see a little bit. But the whole goal of this like paranormal, it was almost like a haunted house type thing, but it wasn't. It was just like a place that had paranormal activity. And the goal was to get to the last room at the end of the tunnel without a flashlight. And if you did, you like basically won. You get the bragging props of making it to the end of this haunted tunnel with the lights off. And at the end, there was like a little concession area that had like free snacks. So everybody was, as like a congratulatory thing, you could have a drink and a snack. Well, as I was walking through this tunnel, with other people, I started seeing like what I thought was Halloween props in the rooms, and it wasn't. They were like nurses. And one of them was a nurse, and I can't tell you what the other one was. She was literally sitting there in her chair in her office, and she was like the old timey nurse with the white like skirts and the white hats and stuff. It was like the Silent Hill nurses, kind of, but but it wasn't as creepy. But they had the white skin, almost jokery like the Dark Knight, like Joker stuff around their mouth. And I'm like, whoa, that's a little creepy. Then I saw another like human spirit flicker, and I can't. She wasn't a nurse. It was something else. She was wearing different colors. So I start picking up my pace going down the hallway. I make it to the end of to the concession area. Everybody's already in there celebrating because I ended up like slowing down and taking my time. And even they had like a cooler with a couple beers in it that looked like they had been raided. And this one guy got the last blue moon, and I could smell it in my dream. And I'm like, this is so fucking weird. Cause I mean, I knew I was dreaming. Like when I was I understood that I was dreaming, but I wasn't aware I was dreaming. I don't know how else to explain that. I just knew it wasn't real. But anyways, everybody starts heading out of the tunnel, and it's still pitch dark, and everybody starts running because it's super creepy on the way back because you've already made it through. Well, now you got to face what's behind you, which is even scarier in my opinion. So all these people were like running, and I was one of the last ones. I'm like, y'all motherfuckers ain't leaving me. So I started running, and in my dream, I could run. I could not run that whole tunnel in real life, y'all. I'm sorry, I can't. Not ashamed to say it either, but I run out of the tunnel, and it brings us out into some grass. And then up on the top of the hill, there's like a little store, and it has an inside outside area, a place to hang out. And everybody was up there, and everybody was like leaving and stuff. And most people had already left. And here I am, one of the last ones again. And this young girl, I was sitting with some girl, I think her name was Kate or Katie or Catherine, one of those names. This young girl comes out of the tunnel up the hill screaming her name. And I'm like, what is going on? And I look, and there's a tornado behind the trees. And the tornado is like coming our way. And it didn't matter where I ran, where I tried to hide. This tornado was coming after my ass. And it was really big at first. But then the tunnel got smaller and smaller until it was like just a pencil, and it hit me, and I woke up. I told everybody within 15 minutes about my dream because it was pretty vivid and I could smell in it and stuff. And I said to everybody, I said, watch, there's going to be tornadoes today somewhere. Well, guess what? Within 15 minutes of me waking up and telling everybody my dream, about 45 minutes after I woke up and had done told everybody, I typed in tornadoes warnings in the area, and it was in Michigan. And I was actually able to verify that there are underground tunnels where very, very close to where the tornado hit. So that's kind of what we were going to talk about. And I have to tell y'all now, I could have left it out, but we've already talked about it in the other part of the podcast. So no, that was a lot, but it was really wild. So it
Mhm.
happened within 15 minutes. And I've done that before with volcanoes.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure in Asia, in like the islands in Asia,
Mhm.
like the Philippines and stuff. Like I've done that with volcanoes before. Like I'd wake up and I'd be having a dream I was over there and there would be a volcano erupting, and then I would check on Google and there would actually be a volcano erupting. So that was some like live premonition shit, because within 15 minutes of me waking up from that dream there was. So
Mhm.
anyways, but yeah, and then I know I had some other experiences, but I can't remember, and there are some that I cannot share because I don't have permission to. So I want to respect people's privacy. And I do just want to add, I know we were talking about the Maui fires, and it's still things aren't going the way that they really should be. Um, I just got a couple things for the people that may be interested, and I'm gonna keep it very brief. I really strongly feel like there's something way more to this. I don't think it was just an accident. I'm not saying that it was anything super far-fetched or scientific, but something's just not right, and I'll leave it at that. I'm going to keep most of my other opinions to myself, so people can insert however they feel about that,
Mhm.
but definitely many prayers for them. There's Don't Wait. I actually probably put the link to the GoFundMe that is set up by a guy that lives locally, and he's going to have everything. He has lawyers and everything working with him to make sure he does what he's supposed to do with the money. Like there's a bunch of backup information, but I'll put the donation link in our show's description to help out the people of Maui, because like right now he's using, I think, his own money, and he's docking it down to like help people pay their rent and like their mortgages and stuff so their land can't be taken from them. And I'll put a link to his YouTube channel down there too, because
Mhm.
he's trying to do some good things. Like he's day and night. He was a real estate agent, but now this has happened, so his channel's kind of changed into this you know, these efforts to help the people of Lahaina. But the other thing that I got, and I want to be kind of careful how I say this, there's certain people that were put in positions in a, not necessarily a government position, but a justice position on the island, that also worked for another city a few years ago that ended up having a scandalous, how would you call this, Emily? How could I put this
I mean,
without,
it is kind of it is pretty much a scandal.
yeah, so in Las Vegas, this certain uh judicial position, I guess you could say, maybe that's it, something like that.
Yeah.
He ended up working in Las Vegas, and there was some really sketchy shit covered up in Las Vegas that went down, and now he is located in Maui, and it's who a lot of people are upset with right now because of the blockades and everything. Well, I got clearly he is a plant. He's a pawn. Whether he's 100% aware of it or not, I think he is. He knows his mission. He had a mission when he went there. I don't know how long, but Spirit clearly shows me, because even he got a raise. He makes like $200,000 a year now.
Damn, that's a lot
Yeah, and
for what he does.
I think it was like a 50 or $80,000 raise, and this was shortly before all this happened. So you just look into this man's eyes, and I'm not naming names or positions, but I hope everybody's catching my drift here. Just take a look and peer into this man's eyes and see what you see, because and when I did, like all this information flooded to me about his personality and stuff. But to end that on a light note, and it's a heavy note, but I hope it provides comfort to somebody that may be upset or really like emotionally disturbed by what they're seeing. Even though it's a tragic situation, when I started hearing about the children and everything, I got a vision of an angel like walking ahead of the basically the firestorm, because that's what it became, and the people that could not escape. And I say there was a feminine energy to it. um it was like the angel was walking in ahead of the blaze and grabbing the children and pulling them out. So what I mean by that is, sometimes when people have tragic passings, you're sometimes pulled out of your body. Your spirit leaves your body before you feel that type of pain. That's something I learned from a very well renowned medium, not somebody like super duper on TV, but they've been on TV. I learned that from a medium, I'd say about 3 years ago, and it makes a lot of sense. And that's exactly what I saw happening. The angels was going around to the children and pulling them out. And then I saw children, big and small, and adults in the background because I was focused on the children. I saw them standing in light with an angel on each side, basically like just in the light, showing that, they're okay. The ones that, obviously passed. And that was very emotional because old people and kids are soft spots for me. People that can't help themselves. So I just wanted to share those couple little things I got. I didn't really do a big channel, on this. It's so much going on, but I just wanted to add that in there about the Maui fires and something I saw. And Emily did a video on it
Mhm.
too. She did a channeling video if y'all are interested in checking it out. Just one spoiler alert, she saw the same thing, similar. It's not exactly the same, but she saw a similar vision. And then I was talking to my friend Rochelle, the psychic sleuth, or I was actually watching her video, and then I talked to her about it. I hadn't even spoke to her, and she saw the same thing about the group of people standing in the light. So there's a significant message that goes behind that. And it might mean something different to different people, but there is a message behind that imagery. You got multiple psychics seeing the same thing. That's how you know
Mhm.
something's, you know.
I wanted to add something that I forgot with that with my experiences slash news for this week because I did do that channel and I got a lot of information. But one thing I want to add, and I think it's important to add this for the healing of those people and the families of the people, even people that don't live there but have family that do. I was speaking to a nature deity and she pretty much was saying how her and other deities and nature spirits are working to help heal the land, but also the people and all of the trauma that they experienced, and that these people are very, very important to these beings, that they're very important to these deities, and that the deities just wanted to say like how much they appreciate them and how much they love and cherish them, and that they are looking after the deceased, the animals that have been, killed, injured, and whatever else. They just wanted to make sure that they knew that, they're in good hands. They're working on healing them. They're taking care of those who didn't make it and that they love them.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure. I don't know how much of Hawaii listens to our podcast, but, you know.
Yeah, but I think this is, I mean, yeah, I mean, if anybody does listen, we're so sorry that that happened to you, and even the people that are just invested emotionally in it. Like, I would like to donate, but I can't donate, but I can tell everybody else where they can, and I can spread the word at the very least. So I'm trying to do my due diligence because, it is part of the USA, and a lot of people are having issues at this point because things aren't happening fast enough, but we're quick to send money elsewhere, and I can agree with that. So this is our
Mhm.
way of giving back. If I can't, donate money, then I can at least spread the word, right? So
Yep.
I think it's important, and I think that's an important message overall. I think that's why we keep seeing, them in the light. Like, there's a lot of things, and I guess the last thing I'll add is they're talking about the land grabs and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
I did a
eminent
little,
domain.
yeah,
That's what
and
it's
I did a
called.
little prophesizing, but yeah, so I did a little prophesizing on a YouTube video. It just came out of nowhere, so I wrote it down because they're talking about the company BlackRock trying to buy the land out. So if I'm alive and well, and before I say what I'm about to say, I'm alive, I'm well, I'm healthy, and I'm happy. So we're just gonna say that before I say this. Here's my intuitive thoughts about this particular company wanting to come in and buy the land. And I'm reading you what I wrote very briefly. This company already has a percentage of land in mind they want in this area, and if they do not get it, I feel like they are going to assist the politicians to deem the land unsafe and too toxic to live in. Okay, this is a prophesizing. This is like futuristic stuff. There's a potential for this. Okay, and it will belong to the government then. And then there's going to be some type of big like recovery for Lahaina, and then the government's going to own it, so the government can choose what to do with it. It can either become like a national park, or it can be owned by this big company. And if they get what they want, they're going to own the percentage of land they want to own in this area, basically. And they already wanting to spray like this, I think it's like this pinky sticky polymer like material on top of the disaster areas, which is they're technically crime scenes. They could be considered crime scenes right now, and they're not supposed to do, but they're wanting to do it to try to keep all the ashes and stuff from being up in the air, because it's toxic there right now. Like, not a lot of people are talking about the toxicity of this area, but it's very toxic. And yeah, they're right next to the ocean. This can go in and create like another whole environmental disaster if this gets out of hand. But the one thing about this company, the last thing I'm going to say is their name, a black rock, like, like obsidian and tourmaline and all that kind of stuff. Well, in a spiritual sense, a black rock is absorbent of all energy. It takes away energy universally. Like, and it just absorbs it basically, and it will transmute it to a degree, but mostly it just absorbs it. And then the color black is voided of all light when you think of it in a spectrum. So just kind of looking into things maybe a little too deep, but a lot of that stuff is kind of like just take it as you will. But that company name, I was probably named after great grandpa Black or something. I don't know, but I'm just saying it's kind of interesting when you think about it in that way. So to finish it off, that's a potential timeline. Again, predicting the future doesn't always come out as you see it, because of the choices and the free will that we make, and that in some timeline that could have happened. We might, and I hope we follow a different timeline. If anything, I hope they try to restore the land, and if they have to make it or condemn it basically to be toxic, hope they can clean it up, and at the very least make it like a preserve. And I hope these people can get their land back. But in the perspective of this company wanting this land, if they want it, spirit's telling me they can get it, depending on the choices and the free will of the people involved. So that's all I have to say about that.
Louisiana's on fire. Spokane, Washington's on fire.
Canada,
Canada's still on fire. I think
Greece.
Greece is on fire now too.
There's a lot of, yeah, there's a
God
tons of
damn it! I
places right
want
now,
to
which,
visit Greece.
yeah, I think it was Greece. Maybe it was Turkey too. And recently there's been several fires.
Mhm.
But anyways, I guess we'll go ahead and quit our squawking, our hocus pocus. We're going to
Mhm.
quit our hocus pocus.
Mhm.
Okay. And we're going to go ahead and get into the interview with Miss Veronique, the Anomalous Witch.
Come to me, children, and follow my way into the world of darkness and magic. With all my power, I'll show you the way to all your dreams, hopes, and illusions.
All right, everybody. Today we have a very special guest from what us Americans say is across the pond. We have Veronique, and we're going to go ahead and let her introduce herself. Veronique, would you like to briefly introduce yourself, your name, your title, and some information about you?
Hi, my name is Veronique. I am from the Netherlands and I'm a witch practicing solitary witchcraft.
We're happy to have you. Veronique is one of our good friends. I actually met Veronique, I would say 2.5 years ago now, probably.
Maybe
Me and
three?
Maybe 3.
Well,
Yeah, me and Veronique have been talking actually longer than me and Emily have been chatting. And now we call ourselves the Sanderson sisters.
Yeah.
So
oh God.
Veronique's, yeah, she's a good friend of ours. We're happy to have her on today. She's going to talk a little bit about some witchy things. We would definitely wanted to cover this topic because a lot of people that we know are interested in the craft, or maybe you dabble in it and you don't even call it witchcraft. There's a lot to what a witch is, and it's kind of what you make it to be. And Veronique's going to talk about that today for us, but we are going to stick to the roots of our origin stories for each one of our guests. So I'm going to ask Veronique, was there any paranormal or spiritual encounters that you had that you would consider your origin story or point of origin, where you kind of got into the paranormal or spirituality field that you can think of in your life? So when did it start? Like the age, how did it start, and like how did it start? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it started very early on for me. I was a cute little girl with very dark brown hair and very light blue eyes. So most people I would encounter when I was like 5 or 6 years old, they told me I had old soul eyes. So that always stuck with me. And then as you get older and older, you start to look up a little bit of the yeah, you start to googling old soul eyes, and then you came into old souls and indigo children and stuff. And
Right,
that's
right.
really how the flame got started. Like I was always making mud pies in the sandbox and stuff, and making potions and being out in nature and stuff. So that's really how it got started. Yep.
Yeah,
But
that's really interesting, because a lot of times people that start to practice their own craft, they don't even realize that they have those tendencies and ways of a witch. Like I even myself have caught myself, like I some of the things that I do, like with candles and stuff like that, it it can be considered witchcraft in certain terms, but it just came natural to me. But I have Appalachian roots. I was told by another medium that I have a lot of water witches in my family from the past. So I think it's something that is potentially inherited either from our DNA or being the fact that you're an old soul. So that really resonates with me
Mhm.
for
yeah,
sure. So go ahead.
to me too. As a child, I always had a different outlook on other things than other children.
Right. And I
Yes.
think, Emily, you can resonate with that too, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, I did stuff similar to Veronique with like making potions and mud pies and stuff like that, and kind of being isolated from a lot of people. And for whatever reason, people just didn't like me, and so I spent a lot of time alone. And yeah, so I get it.
Yeah, for sure. I was very similar. I can resonate with all of that, done all that myself. Like I think it's a trend, honestly, for people that end up going into stuff like this. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's something I've heard across the board, that there was always something different about folks that do the type of work that we do as a child. Like we just kind of were didn't fit in a specific clique, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
I think because the other children know we're vibing different. Like we're still vibing, but we're vibing different.
Right, exactly. 100%.
Uh,
So, what about the paranormal? Did you have any paranormal experiences when you were a child?
Um, well, I used to. Oh God, I used to have very bad nightmares. One nightmare I can remember is that I was like, you got like a bird's eye view of a foresty pinewood landscape, and then all of a sudden there was me. I was like 1 inch tall, and right before me was a wolf that was I don't know, like 30 feet tall, and then behind the wolf was a moon that was like 80 feet tall. So that always imprinted to me, and I got so scared of wolves and werewolves around that time. And then my mom was like, "What if we get a dream catcher for you? They say it always works." So we bought a dream catcher, and since then I've never had as many nightmares as before. So that's the first thing that stuck with me.
Right. That makes sense.
That's
I think I had
that's
some myself.
it's not like really paranormal, but it's up there, on the scale
Exactly.
of. And then also the I always in my old home I always felt I was always scared of the stairs. I was always scared that somebody was come rushing in, and I don't. It's not like zombies or anything. Just a dead person. I don't know. I always got the feeling, and I've never went back when I'm in this stage now, so I never really know. I did see one time a cat walking around the house, and I believe it was my parents' old cat who I've never met. So
Was it a
that's
gray cat?
something. Um, it was um, it was like a cat, but like a white sheen, like a white mist,
Yeah,
and
like
an
but
owl.
wispy, like a wispy kind of whitish
Yeah, yeah,
gray.
yeah,
It's so
translucent, whitish gray. Yeah,
yeah, it's so weird because I, I would say probably 2 years ago now, I was seeing that kind of cat around my house. And somebody else that we actually interviewed in this season, Silent Echoes, Kristen,
Oh,
she
yeah.
was seeing it too. So I was just had to ask because we were all
mhm,
conversating and talking at this time.
yeah.
So
Well,
I was just curious.
I saw it when I was like 12. So
Right, right. That's interesting for sure. And then in your teenage years, I know that you've told me a little bit about how you started getting more interested. I'd say around what, 15, 16, 17 years old. You started getting
yeah, yeah.
interested into practicing your craft more. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how you got started practicing, and also too if there was any paranormal experiences that came along with that?
Yeah, so around that time, my niece died. Unfortunately, she was 25. She died of cancer. And one thing that stuck with me also is when she got buried at the church. So when we took her coffin out from the church into the car to get to the cemetery,
Yeah.
it started raining. So
Oh wow.
it was clear as day, nothing on the sky, nothing. And then as soon as the coffin hits the outside of the church, rainfall, the whole floor was covered. And then when she was in the car, nothing. It stops again. It never rained that day anymore. I
Oh
I got the
wow.
chills.
Yeah, that was definitely, in my opinion, spiritual for
And
sure. It was like a purification.
she was a very religious person. She had a rose bead tattooed on her foot. She was very into Christianity. And oh god, I'm getting chills all over. So that's yeah, it's so weird. How can it be raining on that specific area for less than 10 seconds? And the
Right,
whole floor was covered, so there were big drops. It was, to me, it was like she was crying from heaven. Like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. That's wild.
So
I remember you telling me about that because the me and Veronique met in a chat, I believe, on a certain YouTube channel that was a paranormal channel, and then we would kind of chatted some more on another channel that was more of a psychic type channel. And that's how we met. And Veronique messaged me, and I don't know exactly what you said, but it was something along the lines of, "So you're a psychic medium, huh? Could you give me a reading or something?" It was, in short, it was kind of
I
like that.
wasn't that sassy.
It was close. It was close.
I was
I was like, all right, cool, yeah, sure. Because at that point, like I really needed the practice. So a lot of times before I got, as good, I'm not saying I'm like the best here. I'm just saying as I've got to the point that I am today where I can get information really fast, I was still like practicing myself then, even though I could do it, I didn't have the confidence. So by you doing that, helped me along my journey. I just think it's really cool. But I actually picked up on your niece, I think that day. We talked about it. I saw a girl with long brown hair,
Yeah,
and
it
this
could
was
be,
in,
yeah.
yeah, and we described like a guard. I don't know. You had me like
Yeah, the
look into
picture
your
from my
house.
grandparents.
Yeah, and that too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that too. But you had me describe like the house and stuff like that, and then you asked me like, "Well, you can't see me like washing the dishes, can you?" I'm like, "No." because I was explaining about how remote viewing works and stuff. So that was like mine and
Yeah.
Veronique's first conversation. That's how it kind of
Yeah.
went. So I think we bonded over that conversation because we've talked ever since.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got the right vibes for you. Like we share the same values and morals, and
Exactly.
I needed some witchy as friends. So I was like,
Exactly.
okay, why not?
Yeah, and it's helped. And like we push this a lot, and I'm not trying to get too off topic here, but it really makes a difference for people like, like us that have intuitive gifts and don't really have anybody surrounding us in our local communities, like in person. It's been so helpful to connect with people and like find validation and relatability. And that is one of the reasons we do this podcast too, is for that, because there's so many people that have experiences. And then you have like half the world calling you a fake and a fraud and you're stealing people's money and all this kind of stuff. In reality, no, we're just really trying to help people. And I don't know, not going to get too off subject, but yeah, would you like to go ahead and tell us a little more about or finish your story about how you got started into practicing your craft?
Yeah, well, how I started really started practicing, like I was a teenager. I was going through puberty and everything sucked at the moment. And I remember sitting in class and like, I gotta do something with my life. What do I like the most? And then I had a few pins saved on Pinterest, and I went through them. And then I remember like taking the bus home for 1 hour and only scrolling down on Pinterest, saving things that would be interesting. And yeah, that's I I studied witchcraft for like a year first before I really started practicing it, just getting all the information and all the stuff. And at that time, I was a little bit evil. Unfortunately, we
Right.
all been there, right?
Right. But it influence? Was it like just because you were naturally drawn to darker things, like you were into the
Um,
paranormal, or was it just something that you thought was how things were supposed to be?
no, no, it's definitely like I wanted to be a rebel a bit. I was into Ghost BC. That's a metal band, satanic metal band, and they make
Right.
very good music. The first album is still a favorite of mine. But
Right.
yeah, so I was dabbling in, and all you could find on the interwebs, it was like 10 years ago, so there was even less than there is today. All you could find was always like dark magic, because ooh, magic is dark and evil and bad and only for
Yeah.
yourself. And so that's how I ventured into it. But then I got a very scary dream where I was to sign the book of the devil to sell my soul. And at that point, I woke up. I turned my life around completely. I did a literally a 180, and then I said, "No, I'm gonna use my witchcraft for good and not for evil."
Right. Emily,
And
you had a similar experience.
Yes, but I wasn't doing like witchcraft things, but I was put in a position where I got to see the big giant leather book, and a demon pretty much blackmailed me into signing it and tried to threaten the lives of friends. And if I didn't, do it, then he would hurt them. And I
Right.
knew like astrally it was a trap, but somehow my body moved on its own and I ended up signing it. However, I was able to reverse it. And so I don't have that as a problem anymore. But yeah,
Right. Yeah, because it wasn't your free will.
no.
Yeah, I know that y'all had talked about that before, and I just wanted to bring that up because I mean
Yeah.
that's a terrifying experience, and I've
Mhm.
had visions when y'all have talked about it. I know I've had visions of it. I can't say that I can relate to that one um, at all, but I can relate to the fact that like sometimes when I'm laying in between my awake and asleep state where I'm still conscious, so like I still can hear everything that's going on around me and stuff, I'll start having visions of different things, and I'll be put in different scenarios. And I've been put in scenarios where there'll be like a door in front of me and I'll have a being standing there. They've came to me as like in hoods. They've come to me as like beings of light, and they try to get me to go through this door. Like the first time that I can remember, which I'm sure it wasn't the first time, but to my knowledge right now, actually was, it looked like an old castle door with a bunch of stone around it, and there was somebody in a cloak with like a staff, and they're like, go ahead, you go on in there, all the dead are in there, you can go ahead and go on in. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I turn around and come back, and then not too long after that, I was like in a space of light, and there was like these gates, almost like heaven's gates in a way. And then there was this being with like white short hair. It was a woman, and she had on these different types of clothing, and she's like, here, just go through the door, everything's fine. And I'm like, not falling for that one, sorry, not this time. And she just looks at me like with disappointment and just anger. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, this was not good at all. So I've had experiences like that, and like in that in between state, and situations like that for sure. So go
I
ahead.
was going to say, I've had similar experiences with the damn portals and beings trying to get me to go through them. Or like, I'll be in a fight and then they'll escape through a doorway or like a portal, knowing that I'll chase after them, and they do it on purpose because they know I'll follow them, and it never leads anywhere good.
Right, I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah, and because there's a whole different space in that realm of action, I guess you could call it. It's really
Yeah.
hard to kind of label. So once you turned your life around and like decided that you wanted to start using this craft for good, um let's see, how can I say this? What are some of the things, like what was the difference for you? Like do you mind sharing like some information regarding like the difference between the both? Because right now, me and Emily, we do some work in different Facebook groups and stuff, and try to help people understand, like, it's our truth, it's not their truth, it's not absolute truth, but we try to give people information and pointers and stuff. And there's a lot of information out there that can kind of get twisted, so to say. Would you like to talk about any of that and the way maybe you do certain things versus the way that you did certain things? That question makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So you're
Okay.
basically asking me to differentiate between good and evil.
Yeah, just maybe like how your craft changed. Like what's the
Yeah.
difference? Because I don't truly know, honestly.
Well, dark or black magic is really self-centered. Even if you do it for other people, it's still self-centered. And that means that you will feed your ego. And when you feed your ego, you fall into negative energies. So what I do now is instead of wishing myself the best work day, I wish my colleague a best work day. And if I'm having a bad day, I wish myself still a good work day because I'm having a bad work day. So it's not to put positive on positive, but it's to make the worst like a little bit more positive. Like the craft is basically the same, but the intent is different.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay.
I was gonna say, like, because some people always have, okay, so you've heard dark magic, you've heard white magic, and you've heard gray magic.
Yeah.
Would you say the difference between all of them is just intent, or is there more?
Yeah, it's well, let me get one thing out first. It's very important. Uh, Perception is all in the eye of the beholder. That's a very big thing in witchcraft because if you see, like for example, if you see a dead animal, do you wish it dead because it no longer has to live pain, or do you want to not revive it, but do you want to help it get better? But it has to undergo a really long, painful way until it's better. So it's there are like gray area ish somewhere. But the difference between dark gray and white, to me at least, is dark magic is purely self-centered, working with demons, wishing bad ill upon people, doing curses, hexes, all that shizzle. Um, in a bad, negative way. And then the gray witches, they do some positive work and some dark work. So they be like working on the house spells, and then suddenly you said something in the wrong way or did something to fuck them over, and then they curse you or they hex you, bit of both. And the good witches or the white witches, they do not act out of anger, out of hate. I personally do not curse and do not hex because I don't believe in a negativity sending some other way.
Like baneful
Yeah.
magic, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I know I've used that term before. What about, like, because I've heard of like celestial witches, green witches. Would you mind giving us, if you know like the difference between some of the other ones, would you mind giving us some examples of some other types of witchcraft as well?
Well, do you got an hour? No.
Yes.
No. Well, yeah.
However you'd like to sum it up.
So I really, really don't like the labels. Every witch needs to be in a label these days, and I don't believe in them. I practice alone. That's the only thing that stands. I get different topics from different genres of witchcraft, if you could say. So, for example, a green witch could be interested in nature, in herbology, in talking to plants, to animals, connecting with the elements, speaking to elements. Celestial witch, I haven't heard of the term, but if I have to think of it, I believe she's all into like some gods or goddess or higher vibing purpose chisel. Then you have rain witches or water witches who go absolutely nuts for an ocean or a sea or the storm or rain or snow. Or it's really self-explanatory what the name is. You also have like shadow witches, I believe. They're all into the shadow work and don't really do much like normal witchcraft, but only like shadow work. So they look deep inside themselves and see their own dark side, and through questions and meditations, they try to work through that to become a better person. So it's not like
Right.
they work in the shadow, but they work on their own shadows.
Right. I've learned a little bit about that myself. I find that one to be very interesting because you can actually start getting into like the archetypes and stuff too with that. I've just found that to be an interesting I've enjoyed reading about it and stuff of the such. And then like kitchen, we hear kitchen witches, like you said, the self-explanatory.
Oh
And
yeah, kitchen witch.
to put it in a here, I guess I don't know if it's just in America, but a lot of people, basically what you're saying, if we had to group it together, even though I agree with you, I'm not big on labels too, because I think we're all individuals. But
Yeah.
if you had to group it together, it would basically be like an eclectic, which is what I've learned. If you're into like
Yeah,
a bunch
that's
of
true.
different stuff. Yeah.
An
So
eclectic an eclectic witch draws topics and sources from all different kinds of things to put them in their own personal craft. So it should be so that if you have 10 eclectic witches, they're all completely different, all the 10, because they have a
right,
very own specialized craft.
right, right. Um, what about like for you? I know where you're from, you take a lot of pride in your history and your background, and it really resonates with you and is part of your craft and the form of divination you use. I know I'm going a little off of some of the questions, but it's just kind of coming to me here. I would like to know if you'd like to tell people about the type of divination you like to use, like the runes and stuff, because honestly I don't know. I know some about runes, but it's nothing I've ever practiced. Would you like to tell us anything about that, like how the runes work?
Yeah, well, the runes are a set of stones with symbols on them that link back to Norse mythology. It is believed to be one of the first alphabets. So the runes are an alphabet from the Norse mythology. It is said to be one of Europe's first alphabets before the Romans came in. The runes are a set of stones with symbols on them, and each symbol has like a corresponsive energy to it. So it's not like tarot cards where each card has like a name and stuff, and is this kind of energy. But the runes are more vague in that matter. Like they only have 25, 26 runes, and in a deck there's like 80 cards or something. So you got to work with uh, less things but broader energy. So one of my favorite is Rido, and it's like an R. It's basically an R, but way more pointy. And it stands for travel, but also for a chariot you take to travel, and also a little bit for the horse you take with you on a travel. And so it can go all kinds of ways with that.
Right, right. And you can actually, one of the things you've done for me is create like a protection rune where you use different runes to create a protection thing for me at some point. That was really cool. I actually like that, how you can do your own symbol. Would you
Mhm.
mind
Yeah.
elaborating on that briefly before we move on?
I combine like sigils and runes together, so maybe it's frowned upon, but for me it works. So instead of using a rune stave, so normally you put runes like under each other separately or alongside each other separately, but I'll combine them. Like I literally when you needed protection for your car, I remember, so I made like almost a horse with runes.
Yep,
So
it was really cool.
it's a little bit different than how really rune practicers would use. But then again, the staves come from an Icelandic book which they found, so it's also not really like a rune book. There's yeah, there's just so little information on runes. So I think it's open to interpretation. So that's why I did it.
Right, exactly. And one of the things I've understood about creating your own, you create, it's your intent. So creating your own things, like, you know, your own symbols for things and stuff, it's just, it's similar to me as like when I ask spirit to give me certain symbols for to mean certain things. For
Yeah.
example, yeah, like Emily, she has a certain thing for her ear ringing, like she has a setup for that. And it's,
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's somewhat similar in a way. It's not the same thing, but it's the same principle.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one subject that a lot of people are interested in, I found, is a book of shadows, which sounds kind of creepy. But once you, I personally have looked into it, I kind of know what it's about. But for the listeners, could you tell us a little bit about a book of shadows? And is that something that you prefer to do, or something you've started or have?
First off, Book of Shadows is a book where you put your witchcraft journey into. So you can put everything in there. You can put your spells. You can use it as a diary. You can use it to plan out what spells you need to do, when you need to do it. Basic information like on the elements and stuff is always in there. It really, you just start with the basic elements: earth, wind, fire, and water, and then you'll write away in your book. It's
Well,
basically like a journal for your
right.
craft.
Yeah, and I actually learned that it come from the Wiccan community. Like it actually isn't something super old. I think the oldest form of, if you're, I've heard if you're not a part of the Wiccan community, then it's called a grimoire.
No, it
Maybe
doesn't
I'm,
matter.
yeah, because I had
To
somebody.
me, it doesn't matter.
Right, right. I understand what you're saying.
Like,
So I was just curious of your take on that. So yeah, I understand.
okay, like for me, you have a book of shadows. That's where yeah, of course, you put your shadow work and your basic like growing stuff, not like your personal growth stuff.
Yes,
And
makes sense.
then you have your grimoire, and a grimoire is where you put all the basic like fact information, like with the elements and stuff. And then you also can have a spell book on the other hand, where you all put all your spells that you did or want to do, and you plan them out and stuff like that.
That's very cool. Yeah, and I know a lot of people are interested in starting those for sure. I've seen a lot of videos like on YouTube and stuff that kind of detail, what they chose to put in their book. And I think it's really
Yeah.
cute, like and fascinating. And I think it's important as a part of somebody's craft to do that. And if you're into that kind of thing, it really lays a foundation for you to develop. So very, very cool.
Since New Age Witchcraft, all the 3 books have kind of morphed into Book of Shadows because it sounds mysterious and dark and spooky.
Right. Right.
So
That makes sense.
yeah, I don't have
And
one, by the way.
you don't have one?
I don't have one. I have like 4 books I started on, but I never quite get to finish. It's all in my head. It's always all in my head.
I mean, that's good that you can do that. Like, because a lot of people have to write the stuff down.
Yeah, no, of course, important things I write down, but it's
Yeah.
like a notebook with hollow cover.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is pretty. This feels
Yeah.
like sunshine and sparkles. This will be my logbook.
Right. Right.
So, but I can highly recommend that you write it down because I'm a little bit sad now that I don't have a book to look back upon how I started. I can
Oh,
remember
that's
it, of
true.
course, but it's just for the feels, it's just for looking back. But
Yeah. And seeing your personal growth, that's fair enough. So
yeah,
for
yeah.
people that are interested in, starting that type of journey, Veronique definitely recommends that.
I wanted to know, like, what the difference was between Wicca and witchcraft, because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation on the internet with that, and I wanted your take on that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So since the age of Aquarius, so since this year, a lot of people have been getting into witchcraft because of the Rona. They had to look for some make believe or stuff. I don't know, but everybody got into witchcraft, and they say yeah. So there's a lot of misinformation about it. So how I always view it is you can be a Wiccan and practice witchcraft, but you can also not be a Wiccan and practice witchcraft. So Wiccan is basically witchcraft related to gods and deities and patrons, and witchcraft is it's the act itself. So, for example, I don't follow any gods or nothing. I just do my thing and I stir my coffee every morning for good luck. But another person who hangs on to, I don't know, Aphrodite, she can stir her coffee and ask for Aphrodite to bless the coffee so that she will feel loved and pretty that day.
Okay, that makes sense.
Great, because it's a very big misconception that one cannot do without the other, but you can perfectly practice witchcraft without following a god or hanging on to their lips or stuff.
So would you say the Wiccan aspect is more a religion and then the witchcraft is the practice?
Well, it's not a religion because you don't like obey the god. You can choose to like hang on to the god, but it's more like you work with them. So instead of praying to them like, oh, please bless me because I'm stuck and this and that, you can say, okay, we need to get stuff done. So what are we gonna do about it? It's a different intent again.
Gotcha.
At least that's how I view it. I've tried practicing Wicca, but it's not for me. It's I do believe in gods and such, but I don't know. I stick to my own. And if I get interference, that's great. I love it, but I'll never like ask or something.
So, Veronique, so with the whole rune situation and the Norse mythology, like, what is your take on that? Like, in terms of gods and goddesses, and what do you follow? Because I know you have a Thor hammer necklace, so I was just kind of curious to know, like, do you follow? Because I mean, you said you don't really work with any deities, but do you follow any deities in that, uh, yeah, religion or Norse mythology?
yeah, I don't really work with them as much. It's just I'm very big into Norse mythology and a little bit into Celtic lately. And I think I believe it's from my ancestry. I live in Holland, so it's all very close, and probably been a Celt or something in my family line. Um, but yeah, I just like the vibes of the gods. They're not they're a little bit not brutal. They were a little bit rustic in that sense. They are very down to the elements and down to earth, and uh, I just like something has intrigued me about them. Like the hammer you said, the Mjolnir. It's a hammer you wear or not wear or have around you, and it stands for strength. So every time I wear that necklace, I kind of like use it as an amulet for, okay, I need strength today. I put on that necklace, and um, I don't know.
Yeah, I
That's a
mean that
hard
makes
question, man.
sense. Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's
okay.
I
Um,
really like Freya and Odin and Thor, and but
mhm.
I don't have an altar space for them, or I don't I never ask them questions or anything. It's just I use their vibe to vibe with me.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Personally, I've actually met Freya on the astral realm, and it was actually a kind of neat experience. And it's funny because Ghost, my dog, was there too. And I just remember like traveling with a bunch of people, like of Norse, I don't know, origin, if that makes sense. And I
Mhm.
remember traveling with their people and then having ghosts with me. And I just remember seeing like giant white wolves with like these blue, like glowing markings and things. And she was actually kind of neat to meet and very nice.
Yeah, Freya is one of the gods I like very much personally. She is the god of the goddess of love and war. So the way I used to remember it is if you can't lay him, slay him. So some people got very mad on the internet for me about it, but hey, if it works, if you can't lay him, slay him. It's not like she's the town slut or
Right.
anything, but
Right. And so she would be associated with Mars energy because I think in terms of like astrology and stuff.
yeah,
And because,
Mars and Venus a little bit, yeah.
yeah, because her twin brother, too, her twin brother, what's his name?
Yeah,
It's obviously
Frey.
not, yeah. So it's so interesting. My sister's actually got a tattoo representation of Freya. That was her very first tattoo. It's rather large. It's beautiful, though. She got it in black and white. And during some research, like I was helping her with it because I was like, if you're going to get something that symbolizes a god in mythology or a god in general, you definitely want to know what it is. So we did some research and found out that she had a twin brother and whatnot, and some more information. But the thing is my sister's a twin, so I just thought it was kind of special for her. I just wanted to bring that up because yeah, that's how I kind of found out about Freya and stuff, which I've heard of it, but I've never got deep into Norse mythology, which there's time for everything. It's just so much, but I really enjoy it. Like I've got some decks and stuff that use the gods and stuff for archetypical purposes because I'm really into the archetypes. Like I really, really am. I think they're very important. And then when you apply like the teachings and the information about these gods, you can actually learn if you want to put a label on it, you can actually take those characteristics and in turn like they build decks and stuff off of them, which in turn help people grow in a spiritual way or get spiritual advice. So that's how I'm familiar with it personally.
Isn't she
And I
on the chariot card?
Yes.
Yeah.
okay.
On the
John.
tarot. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And
yeah.
I haven't heard of that, but I can believe it.
If there are cats around, then probably it is her.
Yeah, it's the chariot card. It has I think it's a black cat and a white cat, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so the story is that her chariot is drawn by six forest cats. So they're like big, massive cats from the forests of uh Norway. Sweden, Finland.
So that's the end of the story?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. I was just making sure. Gotcha.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Rosewood, and I'm here to help you keep your curses hexy and your hexes sexy in this snarky, true crime and paranormal podcast. If you like a little personality with your true crime and a little scare with some flair, Thrice Cursed is the podcast for you. Thrice Cursed will be coming to you anywhere you listen to podcasts in October. Until then, you can find me on social media such as Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrice Cursed Pod. Until then, keep it hexy.
What's up, everybody? My name is Kevin, and I host this little podcast called Where Weird Ones Are. I talk to people about their personal experiences with paranormal and the supernatural, extraterrestrials. We get into conspiracies. I also talk about spirituality, all of those things that are weird. Where you can find the show is on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Rumble. If you want to be featured on the show and tell your stories, your encounters, email me at wheretheweirdonesare@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, where_theweirdonesare.
Hey Lant fam! Have you been thinking of starting your own podcast venture? If so, consider using Podbean as your one-stop shop for everything podcasting. You can create, record, host, distribute, monetize, and merge your podcast all from the Podbean mobile app or your desktop setup. Podbean offers a 4-tier pricing plan that is sure to fit everyone's podcasting needs, starting with the free basic plan for anyone that signs up with an account. Chas and I currently use the Ultimate Audio plan that starts at $9.99 a month for a yearly subscription, and it really has been the most valuable tool as new podcasters with minimal equipment. Honestly, I just use my iPhone and iPhone headphones, and she just used her tablet without her headphones. So it's like, even if you don't have a desktop computer, you could still record from any mobile device. It's awesome, and it still sounds great. Use our link in the show's description box below or visit www.podbean.com/lamp. That's LAMP to start your podcasting journey. By using this link, you will receive 1 month of Podbean's Ultimate plan for free. You won't regret it. As always, thank you for your support, and now back to the show.
Alrighty. Well, would you like to kind of take us through an ideal day of your practice, just briefly? It doesn't have to be, super long and drawn out, but you were saying earlier, like, you wake up, you stir your coffee, and actually it does matter which way you do these motions when you do this kind of stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
Would you mind taking us through like an ideal day? Because of course, every day we're not machines, obviously, as humans. Some days we don't do everything we're supposed to do or we want to do spiritually. But if you had an ideal day, could you take us through that process and along the way kind of explain things? For example, why and what you're willing to share, of course, doesn't have to be everything, but like why you stir your coffee in a particular direction, just so people can get an idea of what it's like for you, and especially people, because we're going to be moving on very shortly about some tips and tricks or just things people that need to know, wanting to start out. So could you just kind of take us through a day in your life, basically?
Yeah, great. Nice. So a typical day for me is I wake up, I take a little bit time to get out of bed, so to get all my senses back, and then I'll make some coffee. And when I have my coffee, I stir it clockwise because that brings good things in. And if you stir it counterclockwise, you banish bad stuff. Well, in my case, if you practice dark or black witchcraft, it might be the other way. Like you bring like bad stuff in and take good stuff out and shit. But so that's the first thing I always do, really, and that's just become a staple. Like every time I see a spoon, I gotta stir some shit. So and then I'll get to my breakfast. Depending on what I want to do that day, I'll make a fitting breakfast. So the ideal day would be I'll take a hike short after I go to the forest. So I need a big hearty breakfast, like with eggs and sausages, to get me going. And if I need extra protection or something, I use curry spices to put it on my eggs and make like a protective fertile egg for me, so I be blessed in the woods. Then of course I get dressed, I put on my clothes and any jewelry I want to work with that day. So like I said, if I go to the woods, I'll probably wear my labradorite spear point, and I always have a black tourmaline and a hematite bracelets around to to be protected in the woods, because there's a lot of freaky deaky shit in the woods. So the black tourmaline bracelet is on my left arm, and your left hand is the receiving hand. So that means whatever I touch or do with my left hand will first go through the black tourmaline to then be cleansed of all the bad stuff before it enters like my space. And the hematite is to neutralize any bad vibes that come off of me, to give back to the forest. So I make sure like I balance myself out. That makes sense?
Yes, that's actually a
Okay,
good
okay.
idea. I've never thought of doing it that way, but I actually want to try that.
Yeah, it's always it does matter also if you're a lefty or a righty. So I'm a righty and I give out a lot of things with my right hand. So I need to, any bad stuff, bad mojo that I carry with me, I don't want to carry on to the next thing. So that's
Right.
why I wear like a magnetic bracelet almost.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, it's really cool.
yeah, it's become a staple. Like I don't really even think about it. It's just when I put them on, it's like protection and balance. That's the things I intend to do when I put them on.
I need one of those hematite bracelets.
It's also great for blood flow. Like I have pain on my right side of my
Yeah.
arms, and it's great for blood flow. So I can really feel the difference when I'm going out and I forget to put my bracelet on. I'm like, oh fuck, this hand is so tired, so tired, so heavy. And then the next day when I put it on, it's like, oh, it feels normal again. So to me, it really works.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the fact that you're the implication of knowing the difference, that sets the intention.
Yeah.
And then it makes it happen, because we create these things. That's what some people, I think like people just getting into their spiritual journey, there is a certain element of everybody has free will, and that means that other people's actions do affect you, but people don't understand the type of control and what actually the implications of free will mean. So they just kind of float through life and think that things are guiding them, which they are, but how can I say this, they feel like they don't have the power to guide themselves. And I think witchcraft, or even not witchcraft in general, just your daily routines, there's so much power in that. So I'm finding this fascinating.
So I have a saying I stand by. It's you can't control the situations around you, but you can't control how you react to them, and that's the part of the free will.
100%. 100%. That makes me think of like how people may disagree with this, but I think that we don't have, even though we have free will, we don't control the steering wheel of our life, because we have destined moments that are going to happen. We just control the gas and the brake. And the gas and the brake are representative of vibration, positive and negative. And the gas and the brake is like your perception and your free will and everything. I don't know. That's just kind of what it reminds me of too.
Yeah,
But I didn't
definitely.
mean to get off topic. Go ahead with your your daily stuff. But I just wanted to add that in there because it's cool.
So then I'm like all dressed up and protected, and then I'll go to the woods. We have very beautiful woods here in Holland. Though they're small, they're very pretty. I just hang around. I just do my thing. I love photography, so I tend to take pictures of things that speak to me, like attract me. I'll just hang out, take a walk, let the air let the wind blow through you to cleanse all of your sorrows away. If there's a really strong wind, then you stand in the wind and you just stand there for a few moments and you let the wind take all your worries and sorrows and everything. It's really cleansing. It works really well. Same as the sun. If you're feeling down, just go outside and stand in the sun, and in 10 minutes you'll feel energized and alive and happy and nice. And so that just, yeah, it all depends that day on what the weather is like. Feel some plants, smell
Smell the roses.
yeah. So yeah, smell the sap from the trees. That smell is in the air, or touch some plants, or just connect and let your mind wander. That's usually when the best things come to mind, when you're just taking a stroll out in nature, just doing nothing.
I enjoy doing that too. And I also enjoy, while I'm out there, collecting things that I come back and use with my stuff as well. That's like one of my main go-tos. At the Dollar Tree, we have little glass jars. So like pine needles and just leaves. I take leaves and I hang them up on my wall. I just want my bedroom to be like the outdoors, but indoor. Cottage core meets heavy metal meets spiritual. Anyway, sorry.
Same. Yeah, so that's done the morning / afternoon for me. And then I'll get home and maybe eat some more food. And then it all depends. It's always nice to take a cleansing bath afterwards, just to you've cleared your mind and your soul, so now it's time to clean your body. So I do elaborate bath spells, you could say, bath rituals. So I'll fill up the tub and I get some candles that are corresponded to what I want to achieve. So is it raising my vibration? Is it just meditating? Is it cleansing myself? I'll use things associated with that, and just get some candles, get some stones, put on some nice music, take a bath oil and put it in the bathtub, milk even. I always use Himalayan sea salt to put in my bath.
I was gonna say I do the bath rituals too. I love them so much.
That's so nice.
Mm-hmm.
You're just creating a little sacred space for the next hour and a half where you don't have to do anything and just be there.
Yep.
And it's so nice. It's also a form of meditation.
Yes, it is.
So then I'll probably be in the bath for like 2 hours until the water is almost cold.
I do that too.
I was about to say, y'all both have that in common.
And then I get out, and then that's one thing I wanted to talk about, because it's always been a thing in my life. So whenever I take showers or baths for a long time, or go swimming, I always feel drained afterwards. But I'm like really, really slow, and everything is super heavy, and I have like a brain fog. And I think it's because I'm an Aries, so I'm a fire sign.
Yes.
So that dims my flame a little in a good way. I always need half an hour to an hour to restart up again. It's really bizarre.
Down, Aries, down.
I have the opposite. Like, I get the opposite. I feel refreshed and excited and happy and energized.
Yeah, you're earth sign, so water and earth pair, and fire and air pair. Yeah, so that's awesome, because like for me, I do enjoy taking baths, and I used to. I wish I had like a better bathtub. I have a standard bathtub and a shower, so I don't really get baths these days, and I try to get in the shower in and out quick. And I'm an air sign, but I'll have a lot of water too, so I enjoy like running water. I would rather, if I had a creek in my backyard,
oh my God,
I would go shower in the creek with, of course, natural products. I'm not gonna be taking no swab out in the middle of the damn creek and washing my ass or anything. I'm just saying. I would, though. I would prefer to take baths in natural water over the water that comes out of my faucet, because of course we have the water chemical plants. We don't run on well water here. They don't allow it. So even after COVID, not to get off topic, but has anybody else noticed this? The water smells like chlorine. It smells like pool water now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when I get in the bath and stuff like that, I try to get in and out as fast as possible. But being female girls, you know, we can't always do that because there's like 17 different things we're doing. But it's a good point to bring up about, you know, the different elements and stuff, because that's a really big part of the craft is the elements,
Yes.
and you know how we all get what we need out of each element, and there is a balance. It's just fascinating to me.
I would say, like, I am so freaking drawn to creeks and running water and ocean and just water in general. Freaking
You
Yeah.
wanna know?
my
You wanna
happy
know why it
place.
is?
Why?
Because there's water is always in constant movement, and then especially a creek, so it's very energy loaded. So you're
Yep,
drawn to the energy.
absolutely.
I will say when I was at the beach or the bay at my aunt's house like 2 weeks or so ago, when I was there, all my health issues were gone. And then as soon as I left the beach and came back to my aunt's house, it like all my health shit got bad again.
Yeah,
I
because
think it's
the
the
environment.
I think it's the cleansiness of the ocean. You know, all the salt that's in the ocean plus water is also cleansing. So
Yeah.
I think that that's why it benefits you so much.
Yeah, and you're clairsentient in the earth. It just purifies and clears out everything. And
Yeah.
that is a good point to make to listeners. We've said it, but just in case you're listening to this and you haven't heard the other ones, like it's so important to associate your particular elements with the way that you need to clear yourself, even if you don't practice witchcraft but in spirituality. Like I can clear myself with air. I have air and water. I have a pretty good balance, but for me, I can clear myself with light energy. But to ground myself, I still want to go outside barefoot and just stand there and just transmute all the bad. I give it back to the earth, and then I pull up the energy through my legs. Like I feel it. I actually physically feel it. So that's how I operate in a level of, I guess, energy. So air and maybe ether. If I had to like kind of group it together, that's probably one of my main ways of doing it. And like Emily, she said she had the big big daddy rose quartz crystal, which is part of earth, which is great for her. And then Veronique, do you do anything similar like with the fire element to be able to clear out? Because fire is protection and is like banishing and clearing, I know, in witchcraft.
Well,
Or
didn't
in
she say the sun?
Oh yeah, that probably was one of the ways for sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, the fire is also big on cleansing.
You said you take a bath to do your clearings, and then like after that, do you have like a nighttime or an evening routine you'd like to share?
Yeah, so like a good day, I would make like some stew or something. Just I'm also very big into kitchen cooking, kitchen witchery. So I'll use specific herbs and ingredients to make like a spell you can eat basically. So one of my favorite things is my chicken soup, my Japanese chicken soup. It uses milk, chicken, butter, carrots, onions. So the way it works is I'll add the milk, and the milk stands for purifying and cleansing, and the chicken is for sickness. Chicken is very good if you're feeling sick. You eat some chicken soup and you feel better. I guarantee you. Then you'll have like butter to get things smoothly, to let everything to let everything go smoothly. Then you'll have carrots for creativity and eyesight, and you'll have onions to banish negative things. So it's a really good recipe, and that's how I do my all my cooking. I'll know which type of ingredients I want and make make a little cauldron pot with spells and eat it afterwards.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
a lot of people do this. I mean, they don't associate it with the craft or whatever, but they do this just because, like, they don't even
Yeah.
understand why they do it, for
Yeah.
sure.
So it's witchcraft when you put the intent into it. Yeah.
That's the defining difference, right?
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
the. So if some people they follow the recipe and they put milk and then the chicken and then the herbs and then the vegetables, but I put in milk and I say in my head or out loud I say this milk is for cleaning everything from today, and this chicken is to help it get fertile next week, and stuff like that.
I understand. I understand. What about before bed? Do you have anything rituals you do before bed?
Um, well, not really. Oh, in the morning when I like after I woke up sometime, I uh not clean my bed, but what's it called? I make the
You
bed.
Yes, you make so
Yeah,
you get your bed all tidy. It's important
yeah,
to keep it like a yeah.
I make the bed tidy, and now I have like an extra overthrow on there because my boyfriend is always too hot and mama always too cold. So I have an extra overthrow on there, and it has like a very soft, hairy texture on top. And I always write like a pentagram on it for protection, so it can charge the whole day through. And whenever I go to bed, I know that my bed is protecting me from nasty shit.
Right, because you've of course you were saying earlier you've had nightmares and things, and I mean I know at times that you've talked to me and Emily too, of course, about experiences you have, and a lot of your experiences when it comes to paranormal stuff, I noticed happen either first thing in the morning or like lastly at the end of your day. I've noticed that kind of pattern. You can correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong,
yeah.
but yeah, so a lot of times like because we've talked about you having a residential ghost that was a soldier, and I picked up on that a while back. Like I saw his life or something, I don't know, and you were having some ordeal or something was standing at your back door, and I'm like, you live near where there was war, and you're like, yeah, there's
Oh
a
yeah.
museum down the street. So definitely residual energy around. I mean, you're quite the spiritual person yourself. You're on your spiritual journey. You're quite psychic and intuitive yourself, I have to say.
In intuition, yes, I'm a very big intuition gal. I do everything based on my gut feeling. So again, that depends on what I'll do that day for a craft or to practice.
For sure. Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
yeah, the dude. Oh gosh, the dude.
Yeah,
So
that was
I'll
wild.
so I live in like almost a studio apartment with one room, and that's the bedroom. And I have doors, and I have like the plastic sticker foil on them to again witchcraft. I have foils on my door that when the sun shines through it, it makes rainbows on the ground.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if you see them. So
Yes.
whenever the sun shines and there's rainbow in my on my ground, I always think, oh, I've been blessed. That's a good energy flowing.
I love, love, love rainbows. Like they're such a
Yeah,
big
me too.
part. Yeah, they're such a big part of like energy healing and all that kind of stuff. I've always been drawn to them. And it wasn't until here recently I understood why. Well, not recently, but in the past several years, I've understood what it really means to me to see rainbows or just to have the prisms of light, and how much importance color has when it comes to spirituality in many forms. It's universal across like lots of things, religion, spirituality. Like color has so much meaning in the spirit, and when you combine all the colors together, you get white, which is associated with the light. So that white, love and light, we talk about even golden, it has a golden tint. For me, it's always still like kind of white, and for me that is a representation of the prism and the color of the rainbows. So I work with
Girl.
basically rainbow energy.
So I have those foils on my window, and they're like a little bit like a little bit fake, so I can't see the outside correctly. Um, and whenever I'm watching TV, like the TV is right next to the door, and then I'll suddenly I see like a dude just standing outside, just a vague black shadow of a dude standing outside. And then I'll call on my guides, and I ask angels to protect, and then within 5 minutes it's gone. Every time, every time.
Yeah, I've seen it. And I remember times like things like that has happened, or you've seen something in the house, ended up somehow I saw the guards standing at your front door of the whole entire house, not just the part you share or you live in.
Yeah.
I've seen them at the front door of your house, and they're like gold. It's like gray metal with gold trimming.
Yeah, they're very medieval like.
Yes,
Yeah,
very much.
like a knight.
Yes, and they
Yeah.
are very much associated with the history and the land, I think personally.
Yeah, I think too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually.
Yeah. So the dude has been hanging around here, causing trouble sometimes.
Yeah, he needs to be crossed over.
Yeah.
We
I
might
still
have to
don't
do
know how
that.
to do. Yeah, we need to do that. I want to help
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I think I'm getting better at it. Like it's something I've done on and off, but the importance of it I've learned over time. And like still I don't want to talk too much about like what I've learned over time. We got some stuff planned at the end of the season. I'm trying not to ruin it right now because it's not but a couple episodes away, y'all. But over time I've learned the importance of that, of crossing spirits over, because the thing about ghosts are is they once were people just like us. And if it's not their basically kind of whole soul, because part of our soul exists in the spiritual always, it's our higher self, right? And then the part that was here, the earthly part, when you don't cross over, you're stuck, and every soul deserves to be healed. And that's how I view it now, and I'm getting better at it by just understanding that, and coming from a place of love and compassion has been able to help me start crossing over earthbound spirits. It's really, I've noticed the more compassion I have, and I come from a place of love instead of a place of like defense, because you always want to be grounded and guarded. um but when you come from a place of like always feeling like you have to protect yourself, I found that it lowers your vibration, and it keeps you from actually being able to do stuff like that. So that's just me. I mean, it might not be everybody else, but that's my experience with it. So we definitely something I wanted to add, because it's not necessarily newer, but I just haven't talked about it. I've talked about it here and there, but just not enough. And I want to reiterate that. Even spirits that haven't healed, sometimes like elementals, they can be tarnished by dark energy. Even though they're like neutral and would never do anything, they can actually be tarnished, and by like crossing them over, the guides of the land come and like gather them and then make them whole again too. So even things like we don't understand, they all have their place. And this guy, he definitely needs to be crossed over, because he's very much in his human ego form.
Yeah, so you want to know the places I've seen the dude?
Sure.
So I see them standing outside of my door window. I once saw him standing on top of like bird cages we have in the garden. I usually see him laying down on the bed of my mom and dad. We don't live in the same house, but near each other. So whenever I do laundry and get upstairs, like I always see like a glimpse of a human laying in the bed while there's no one there.
Since you brought that up, you remember from like the very first beginnings of me doing a reading on your house and saying I saw something in your parents' bed. I won't go any further
Yeah.
because it's personal, but
Yeah.
I did see that, and it was white, and he was like crunched down or something. I could have been seeing something else, but that's validation, because I forgot or didn't remember, or you haven't told me that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we have a couple spirits here in the house. There's the woman. That's what you're talking about. The woman. She hangs around at the stairs at my parents' house. And then we
Okay.
have the dude. He hangs around the whole neighborhood, I think, because
Yeah.
sometimes he can be gone for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm not feeling him, and then suddenly I see a shim walking through the kitchen, and then I'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, that's the dude.
Yeah, the woman, she's
Yeah.
not intuitively, because I'm seeing all this. The woman, she's actually like a fractal. She's actually part of her shattered self. So she's
Yeah,
not a full-fledged ghost.
they try to exercise her, not banish her.
Yeah.
The people who my parents bought the house from, the lady, the women, the mother, she fell down the stairs a couple times, so they sent in the psychic, and then she did her hoo-ha, and then it severely got less stuff falling from the stairs and stuff. So I
Yeah,
think,
that's dangerous for sure.
yeah,
And that's not good at all. And I do remember you telling me about that. But yeah, to get her, they would be, I don't want to elaborate in the details here, but to get rid of her wouldn't just be an exorcism or a clearing or a banishment. There would be
no,
some
but
other steps.
it's worked enough that she's not nosy around anymore. Like she
Like
just hangs up
physically
there.
harming. Yeah,
Yeah, like she hangs up there. That's it. That's not it's not doing
I
any
understand.
major bad stuff.
That's good because we don't need anybody falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
And you're right about the guy. I really strongly feel that you're right about the man coming and going. He is
Yeah.
definitely around that area. There's a possibility he passed away in that area because he was in war, and this is like World War I, World War II type era. I'm feeling maybe
Yeah.
not.
Well, so the story goes that my house is built upon a cemetery, but I cannot find any plans that say that this area was a cemetery. I do live really close to a church, also really close to what's it called, where the monks and the nuns live.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The
Monastery, is that it,
Yes,
Emily?
the monastery. We also have a monastery. So this town where I live now was first a monastery town. That means that the monastery was there, and everything pretty much revolved around that and the church.
Right.
So yeah,
It's
I think
sacred ground technically.
yeah, it's a very, very holy, comfy little place there. It's a
Yeah,
very
I've
small
seen
town.
pictures. It's beautiful. Like it's so just it takes you back to a time. Like it's kind of in a way it's modern in a way, but it's also kind of stuck in time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I can't I can't point it on it, but yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's got a very just nice villagey type feel, but everything's very neat and nice and proper and beautiful. I don't know. It's really pretty. It's different than anything you're going to see here, unless maybe you're like up north, and it is still not as nowhere near as compacted. It's like a nice little, how can I say this? It's not cookie cutter is not the right word. It's just got all this same feel. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a beautiful place. Um, Anything else you want to tell us about your paranormal experiences since we're kind of on that topic before we move on?
Yeah, I have a few. One I can remember. It was before I was into all the stuff I am now. I remember reading like a manga drawing book because I was drawn to draw, and there was one section, and I can't remember what creature it was. It was like a goblin or something, or like a fairy or something. And I read out loud. It's like the for example, the goblins always used to trick you with electricity. And right at that moment, and I said electricity, the lamp in the hallway downstairs shut off. Like it blew, the fuse blew. So that was like a ooh moment.
Yeah, that's a
That
little
was a bit
much.
scary. Um, I went to my parents' house again to do some laundry, and they have like a very old telephone. You have to plug them into the landline, and it don't work. It wasn't plugged in. It wasn't plugged into electricity also, and all of a sudden there was a ding, as if you lift the horn from the holder.
Oh,
You remember
oh,
those dial phones? You really
yeah,
had
I
to
know exactly
route.
what you're talking about for
Yeah.
sure. I'm
Okay.
older. I'm not much older than both of y'all, but I'm definitely officially hit middle aged this year, and I did not know that. So now I'm having like a midlife crisis knowing that I am a middle aged person. I
Oh
don't feel
God.
like I fit that category though. But yes, we
No.
had those when I was younger.
Yeah. Yeah. So and I asked my mom, like, is it plugged in? Is it working? Mom was like, no, it shouldn't make a sound, nothing. So And the most impressive thing is that my boyfriend was with me, and he is skeptic AF. He is like does not believe. He is very much atheistic.
Yeah.
So we're polar opposites on that side. So it's always fun.
Right. But you said he was
Yeah.
there and he saw it. What did he say? I'm just
He
curious about
heard
that.
it. We both heard like a ding. If you So I looked
Yeah.
at him and I was like, "Meh," and he was looked at me as like, no, it's just some mechanical default thingy. And I was like,
Yeah, it's
no.
what is it? Not levitation. I saw it said gravi. Look, it's 4 a.m. here, y'all, because she's ahead of us. So bear with me. Yeah,
I'm
the
sorry.
no, you're fine. No worries. I mean, we knew we were doing this for a long time, so we've been
Yeah.
preparing. My sleep schedule's been off for a bit, so it's cool. It's perfect. Um, but yeah, so like levitation would be that mechanical error, possibly. You know, just
No,
saying. I don't know.
I just think the ghost did ring the bell inside of the phone.
Right.
Not
I see it
levitating,
being
but
like I see it being picked up enough to make that sound.
yeah,
That's just
maybe.
me.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's just me. It doesn't mean that's the way it happened.
Yeah. Well, so that happened. And then of course sometimes I see shapes and shadows. Um, what else have happened? Oh, I've heard growling sometimes. I've heard a cough sometimes. Yeah, I'm very like a baby psychic, if you say it like that.
Right, but
It's all
you're
very
more
new still.
intuitive. Yeah, you're more intuitive than the
Oh
average
yeah,
bear.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah. I can feel
I
when
think so.
something is wrong and something is here and not so much she or something.
Right. Right. Yeah, I know we've had some different things. We've worked on a case together one time, actually, all three of us. And Veronique, you did a fantastic job, I think.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, let's see. Moving on. I think we could just briefly, because I basically the reason that I kind of want to ask these questions is I tell people all the time that, you know, the difference is intent. That's what makes things, you said, between being magic and not considered magic or witchcraft or whatever you want to label it as. But a lot of things people do every day is no different than what you may do every day. Some people may have like those a tick, like some people call it ticks. Like I have to stir my coffee counterclockwise always because that's just what I'm going to do. That's what I want to do. There's a lot of things we do naturally that is similar, and I try to tell people like magic is everywhere. It's in
Yeah.
everything. You look at it in everything. I mean, it exists because it exists in the elements and stuff like that. So, long story short, I would like to discuss some of the holidays that you celebrate in comparison to the holidays that, let's say, the average person, maybe even I'm not sure I know we all have different holidays, but maybe like the American person, for example, like the comparison, like Christmas and yada yada yada. So, what are some of the holidays you celebrate that are similar or the same?
Well, first off, you have the best holiday. It's your birthday. We all are used to blowing candles on the birthday cake to make a wish. That's witchcraft. But because you're putting the intent into the candle and then you're blowing it, so you blow it into the universe. That's the theory behind that. And then we have like Christmas. I believe Christmas is derived from a pagan holiday called Yule. And the reason why we put up Christmas tree in the house with balls and stuff around it is the Christmas tree. In the pagan days, it was to believe that you bring the tree spirits into your warm house, so they would live on in the forest because they got the warmth from your house. And the balls are like apples, and apple stands for fertility and new beginnings and luck. So that's why we usually hang red balls into the Christmas tree. Um, for the food is also a big part. Like I said, just eating dinner with friends and family is very big on raising the vibration. Just having a good time. Even the eggnog is also again for fertility because eggs stand for fertility. So it can be incorporated in many different ways. But we have then Easter. Easter is also a good one. Easter is why is Jesus interested in eggs? Well, tada! It's again fertility. It's the new stage of every plant, animal, being, everything that's that's a baby that wants to grow. So eggs stand symbol for that, and also the pastel colors, the very vague colors.
Yeah.
They're like baby colors. We also associate them with baby colors. So
Yeah.
again, it's new renewal. Um, other
That makes
holiday.
sense. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense because like it's the time of like rebirth, so you actually have to build on top of that. And speaking in terms of color and like what I was talking about a little bit
Oh yeah.
earlier, like in your chakras and everything, if you're brand new, you're kind of like a clean slate, but the pastel colors are full of new life, which is closer to being like to the light. So the colors will be pastel, and as you kind of go through life and stuff, you keep building on those colors. And if sometimes they can become murky and they have to be cleared out to be vibrant again, it's literally like life force. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, color is also like a very, very big deal in witchcraft because it holds so much archetypal energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What about Halloween?
Ooh, Halloween. Yeah, of course, as a witch, that's my favorite. It's
I love Halloween too.
now don't pin me on this, but I can't pronounce the right pagan way of saying Halloween. It's Samhain. Yeah, Samhain. You write it
Yeah.
as Samhain, but you say Samhain, and it's also called the Witch's New Year, and it's the day of the year where the veil to magic to the other side is the thinnest of the whole year. So we like to use that to well, but I always like to do on Halloween is get a blanket, get some hot cocoa, watch a creepy movie and stuff, and then later in the evening, I'll always do a tarot pool for myself for the next year on what I can expect.
Right. It's like the
It's
new year for sure for us. Yeah.
yeah, it's like the dark is setting in again, and you have to be like a hermit again after the sun is away, and you have to reinvent yourself so you can bloom and grow in the spring. So
Right.
that's a little bit on Halloween, and that's why we dress up as scary characters, is to banish those evil characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
What about the equinoxes? Because I know that that's the same, pretty much everywhere, unless you're in a different part of the hemisphere, it just changes. But what do the equinoxes and the solstices mean to you? Like, could you kind of run through spring and summer, fall, and winter for us real quick?
yeah, so now you're getting into the wheel of the year. The witches have a calendar that's called the wheel of the year, and every solstice and equinox is represented as a holiday. So the perfect example is the winter solstice, which is 22 of December, 21, 22 December, and that's actually also the shortest day. So that means that the sun will be the shortest time shining on Earth as opposed to the rest of the year. So at that time, you really want to, again, get cozy, get a blanket, really look deep into yourself so you can grow and bloom at the springtime, which is the spring equinox, which is the beginning of the that's when you actually start to see that the days are getting longer again, so
Yeah.
the sun is more out. Then you have Mabon, and Mabon is the fall equinox, and that's when the sun shortens again, so the nights go longer again.
It's coming
Um,
soon now. We're getting close to it.
oh, I love the spooky seasons.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm all down for it.
I'm always sad to see like the summertime go, personally, but I do love fall. I mean, I appreciate all the seasons. I struggle more in the winter mentally for me. And Spirit was kind of saying that, and this could be associated with the winter solstice. It's a good time, I would assume, to do shadow work. Is that correct?
Yes. It's
Okay.
perfect time. Yeah.
And then the summer solstice would be more light work, like working on the parts of you that need to shine, basically. So that's kind of
Um,
how I feel about it. I don't know if that's
the
proper.
the way I see summer is that you're reaping the harvests. Like you've in the winter you plan out what you want to do and how you want to grow, and in the spring you grow and you do the stuff that you do, and hopefully you grow, and then in the summer you look back and think, oh, I did all that, that all happened. It feels good. I'm growing. I've grown a lot. And then in the fall, it's like reflection on the winter, the spring, and the summer. What did I do? What did I do wrong? How can I make it better? How can I improve this? And then the circle all starts again. So
Right, right.
that's how I view the seasons and the wheel of the year and how I work with it.
Right. That makes sense. And those are kind of more longer term goals in reference or in comparison to the lunar cycle, because I work heavily with the lunar cycle myself and lunar energy. Like I'm constantly following it. And it's very similar in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah. When you
lunar
have go ahead.
the lunar cycle is like a mini season in 28 days.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
so
exactly what I was thinking.
that's how I view it also. It's
Yeah.
like
It's cool.
you make a overall plan, and then each month you be able to work out a little bit of that plan for that month.
Right. Yeah, you have the way I separate it out and the way I've taught people about it is like you still have your long-term goals, right? And then you'll have your shorter term goals that you can, reassign every month. Like if you get to complete them, and not to beat yourself up if you don't complete them, because there's always still time. I think sometimes people
Yeah,
get wrapped
yeah,
up, in the lunar cycles, and they're like, man, I missed making moon water this month. Well, there's many. It's not recommended during every lunar cycle because the solar eclipses coming up. The lunar and the solar eclipse season is like right upon us, matter of fact, which is also a very powerful thing. Do you do anything special for solar and lunar eclipses?
just looking at the moon, take a walk in the night.
Right. Nothing wrong with that, and just enjoying the energy.
My witchcraft is very easygoing. When I a lot of witches, usually when they start out, they get pressured to do this big kind of rituals and these big spells, and of course you want to do them because you all see them in like Harry Potter and the craft, and they think it's great. But what I believe is magic is truly in the little things. Taking a walk at night with the moon and just bathe in the moonlight, and then all of a sudden you get like a prophetic thought or something, and you write it down, and then you work on that for the next 3-4 weeks. And to me, witchcraft is just fancy psychology, and if
Right.
it works, it works. So it's very simple to me, and I like to hold it simple because we, as a witch, I am like a medieval spiritual person living in a modern age world. If you want to do like the big things, they're all right, but just live in life and do these little everyday little thing magic. It really makes a difference in everyday casting. So
Right. That makes sense. I mean, it's the point of getting in tune with yourself and your seasons.
yeah, instead of making a big ritual that you're scared of, it's how it's going to turn out, and you're scared if it's going to work and how to do it, and you'll be running with your head in the future instead of appreciating the moments you have now. And that's where I believe truly witchcraft lies, like
That's
the
beautiful.
the ability to live your life, but also play with the energies, if you say.
Right. I understand exactly what you're saying. And I think that's
Yeah.
really important. And it does lead me into, we're coming up on the end. We only have a couple questions left for Veronique. And basically the next question is, what would you recommend to somebody that is interested or a beginner in starting their own practice of witchcraft? Do you have any like tips or pointers or like words of wisdom for a person that has an interest in it or is already doing it and looking for a little bit of guidance?
Yeah, so the very first thing I would say is don't take it so seriously. You know, I'll use fuck, and if I have some negative energy hanging around my my house, I say fuck off, ghosts, and I bang some pans, and that's it. They're gone. It's
Right.
really, you see me in the middle of the night, you know, with a ladle and a pan, a bang bang, fuck off, ghost, bang bang, you're not welcome, bang bang bang. And
Yeah.
at first it's very easy to get overwhelmed by all of the different topics. As you said before, magic is everywhere, so everything is magic, what you do and what you can research. And just just pick out a topic. My advice would be the elements. Just get the elements down first and the rest will come. It's ooh, I'm getting all tingly now. Ooh, it's my higher self. Okay.
Yeah. Let's hear it, girl.
Yeah,
Yes.
so as I said, begin with maybe with the elements, or I began with the moon. I was very into the moon, I've always been, and into crystals and candles, and then the elements, and then everything just came together, colors, everything is connected. So don't get overwhelmed, don't be stressed, have a fun, interesting approach at it. Don't try to do and start big rituals, just do little things that you really need and really want. They work out best. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. That's a very big one.
Yeah.
So what I always do is I get a train of thought and I want to research it. I go to the internet and I look to 5, 6, 7 websites, and I find out what I vibe most with. So I'm, like you said, my intuition is very good. So I'm very good at discerning whether it's fake or real in that aspect.
Your
So
bullshit meter's on point.
my bullshit meter is on point, I tell you. So for example, if I find a new stone that I'm drawn to, I'll write down what I think the stone does for me, means to me, and then I'll look it up on the internet, and then I'll find usually it's correspondent to each other. So that's a really unique way of doing things. First, look into yourself and see what you want, what the meaning is to you, and then look it up maybe if for confirmation, validation. But again, it's all in perception. It's all in the eye of the beholder. It's
Right.
yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, and there's a lot of options. Like if you, because somebody that's interested in it and has like those feelings like you did, just kind of knew that there was something different and they get led upon this path, there's a lot of misinformation out there too.
Yeah, a
Which,
lot, a lot.
yeah, and that would be kind of, unless you have anything else you want to add to any more suggestions or advice for anybody that's interested or starting out. My next, go ahead.
Yeah, well, you don't need a god. You don't need to worship gods, goddesses, or anything. You'll do whatever you want. Your craft is your own. So you again, I don't like to be put in boxes, but I guess if I had to be in a box, I would be a kitchen witch and a candle witch and a crystal witch and a nature witch and all that stuff. It's really what you make of it, and nothing is right and nothing is wrong. Everything is again perception. It's all intent. It's all perception. Um, I recommend getting a book of shadows just to look back, just for good time's sake, old time's sake, and maybe for reference if you're beginning, because it's very handy.
Yeah.
What I can recommend is making a little sacred space for yourself. It may be a broom closet, or it may be your bedroom, or it may be your kitchen, or just a place that's not frequently visited by other people, so you can hold the energy better. I've also never cast circles. I've never done it before. But it's because I have a separate room which I keep high in vibration all the time. And
Yeah,
that room is my circle. The walls are my circle. So I don't need to put up a protective circle because I have those walls.
I understand. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. It's kind of like my bedroom in a way for me. That's my bedroom. I can identify that as my bedroom.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So because casting circles is nothing more than a protective barrier from the astral and the physical that you put up. So only good, only things that you want to get in can get in, and the rest stays out. But if you have a room with a door and just close the door, you've basically done the same. You basically let the world, let the energy know from, okay, I'm closing this door because all the good shizzle is in here and all the bad shizzle stays out there.
Right.
That's my opinion. I maybe get mad comments about it, but it works for me. So
Right. And if it works for you and that's your thing, absolutely nothing wrong with
yeah.
that, in my opinion. It's similar to what me and Emily teach in certain particular parts of, using or protection, like clearings and using your natural born intuitive gifts.
Yeah. What helped me a lot is I make a note block on my phone and just put stuff in there that I write later on in my home. If you're on the go or stuff, you don't always have your pen and paper with you, so you can just put it in your phone and then remember it again. This helps me a lot.
Right. Yeah,
And
we've moved
just
out of that era, but I do enjoy still writing, but it's very helpful to have cell phones to be able to do this because it's helped me so much with like writing down my ideas and plans and things I want to teach people. When I get these intuitive thoughts, I can be somewhere else and not have to worry about finding a pen and piece of paper, even though I love it.
yeah, well, writing is also, I think writing is very spiritual with um the way your brain makes a connection with your hand, with your intent. It's very different than clacking away at some keyboard. It's the keyboards are very dumbish, like you just press a button and it does it. And with writing, you have to make the curve, cross the T, dot the I. It's very you'll be connected more to your brain. So it's definitely writing is definitely spiritual. I think, especially in this day and age.
I mean, I would agree because I write everything down. I use my phone for everything and I put everything in it, all the ideas, all my journal entries for like astral experiences, dream journals. I put all of that in my phone and I will write it down too on paper. Like when I do my channels and stuff, I have to write it down. It helps me remember, but also builds a flow for my channel so things come out easier, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
because you're connecting yourself to your soul when you're writing. I think truly.
Yeah, for sure. That's been my best way. Well, I do it a little different. Like when I first started out, I would have to channel through writing and I would get stuff claircognizantly all the time, but writing for me, besides channeling too, these days, I realize that it helps me manifest. And I realize that throughout my whole life, I've always like written down my goals and hopes and aspirations and dreams. And by me doing that, it's allowed me to actually manifest my writing into actual things. Just I use this as an example all the time, like the jewelry that I make. I designed the jewelry on paper. I wrote out, I built the whole plan for Treasure Tree, and then it became a reality. That's just one example, too. Another example besides channeling for writing. So I agree, writing's so important. And a lot of people talk about meditation. Some people do not enjoy just sitting in a place and in a stillness. Like some people just can't do it. Like they have a really hard time. And I always suggest them, those type of people, to try writing instead as a form of
Yeah.
meditation, or something they enjoy, like jogging. Some people, I don't jog personally, but some people like jogging or cleaning or something. But a lot of times that'll be my next suggestion, is like, okay, well, if you want to meditate to get information, because a lot of people, that's what they think meditation is. It's a lot more than that, but a lot of people associate it with that. So then I'm like, oh well, if that doesn't work, then try to connect through writing. So I 100% agree.
cleaning is also a very good baby tip,
Oh yeah,
because you can't do good spells in a filthy house. Your mind
true.
is cluttered. It attracts all kind of negative things when there's a lot of dust and rubble on the floor and tables and everything. The
That's
clean house
true.
is a clean mind. It
Yep.
truly is. If you're feeling down, just start cleaning. Just start somewhere, doesn't matter. You feel better afterwards. It's
Yeah.
always also cleansing for the soul, because you get your house in order, you get your mind in order. And as cheesy as it sounds, as cliche as it is, it's true.
Yeah.
It's very
I
big
can
for
agree.
me, cleaning.
Yeah, declutter. It reminds me of decluttering too. Like you're letting go of things that you no longer need in whatever way that might be,
Yeah,
donations or selling it or whatever you're going to do with it. But that just
definitely.
reminds me of the decluttering process as well.
It reminds me of my manic phases that I get once a month during the full moon.
Yep, she does. She sure does. She gets in her manicky phase, and I get
Oh,
very intuitive, but mine's at the beginning of the month. That's when I get like my boost. But I was
yeah.
born on the
Um,
new moon.
I wonder if it's got to do with the moon. I got a
Mhm.
feeling it's got to do with. Can you maybe it's a fun thing for you if you when you have those manic episodes, to write down what state
It's
it is
usually
in.
the week of the full moon and the full
Yeah,
moon.
full
Yeah,
moon. Yeah, that makes sense.
yep. We just hit first quarter, so like right now, she's gearing up.
Yep.
She's gearing up, and this is a very intuitive time. This is the waxing gibbous. We're going into the waxing gibbous moon. So this is when our intuition starts to rise, things become illuminated. And yeah, I love this time of the month. This is a time that I tend myself, I've noticed I tend to kind of start reflecting, and I start spending more time to myself, and I get a lot more intuitive information. And the dreams have already started for me too. Like you'll have a lot of dreams leading up to the full moon. You might have one, and then as it gets closer to the full moon, you'll have more like interactive dreams. I actually had a really interesting one that I'm going to save, I guess. Well, it's not the time or the place. I'll save it for the beginning of the podcast. So you guys that are listening, you've already heard the dream that I had, but it's surprising that it happened so close to the first quarter versus the new moon. I mean, the full moon. But I'll have to tell you later, Veronique, because it was wild. Anyways.
Okay. Yes. So if baby witches start out with the elements and colors, like they're set on the rest. I truly believe that it's the staple of witchcraft. If you truly understand colors and elements, then the rest will be easy.
Nice. I definitely appreciate you saying some of these things, because I know that it's going to help somebody that listens to it. We've been wanting to do this type of episode because it's a very predominant thing in society right now, and a lot of people are, you know, getting in and out of the idea of wanting to be a witch, because there's like it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's not quite, it's not the word I'm looking for is publicized, but it's just so marketed really these days.
Yeah.
Which leads me into one of our last questions. I think we have one more after this. Um, any warnings or any advice that you have to people that kind of get trapped into things? Just for example, because a lot of people talk about this, so I'm using this as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Witch talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
So
like witch talk.
right. So
I'll just
what are
straight up.
yeah. So what are your warnings, I guess you could say, or just things to look out for when someone would like to maybe start practicing?
Um, Again, don't believe anything you see or read on the internet. Always go by yourself first. And if you think, nah, this is bullshit, it probably is bullshit. What I also don't like is the channels or the TikToks that do like a spell. They film a spell, but they never say how it works. Like you see them taking a jar and putting in old rusty nails and eggshells and vinegar and shake it up, but they never tell you why they put it in. So baby witches do these spells because they've seen it's monkey see, monkey do. Baby witches see how the spell is done. They do the spell, but they don't get the intent behind it. And it's for you to figure out if rusty spikes, rusty nails, if it's meant for protection or to harm somebody. You know, there's always two sides of a story. One time I heard I had a discussion with another witch saying eggshells is purely for protection, and I'm saying no, eggshells are for fertility. You know, it can be used both ways, but all of those big channels, they never tell you why they put it in. They never tell you why. They just do, and you're following them, and that's a big mistake because you're not making your own craft. You're just following along. You're just doing a thing.
You know, one thing I really detest on TikTok too, it's like you'll get these witch and spiritual channels and you'll have these people be like, don't do this, but, and then they'll do this ritual thing and then they won't tell you what it's for, or they lie about it on purpose and it's really something malicious. And it's like, don't do this, but if you want to sell your soul, do this, this, and this. Like they make it very gimmicky, and people are like, ha ha ha, yeah, right. But then they do it anyway because they want to see if it's legit or not. And it's like some of it is traps.
Yeah, but that's the spiritual warfare that's going on. You can't do nothing about it. So just be aware and be alarmed. And if you think I probably shouldn't do it, just don't do it. Listen to your intuition. That's the best I could say. That's it's also a thing that most of the people who start out in witchcraft start out in like the dark black section because in all the movies you see, all the things they've romanticized about witchcraft, witches are those hags with pointy noses and green skin. That's how you start out. That's because what you know, and later on, hopefully, if you practice some more, you find out that good witches also exist and that they don't do the negative stuff and don't do the dark stuff, and you'll venture into your own craft eventually. But just be warned about dark stuff and know it's dark stuff, and it's okay to learn from it, but in my opinion it's not okay to do it, but other people think otherwise. So
So does this resonate with you? Because we talk about this. We don't work with any type of what would be considered low vibrational and or dark entities or anything that exists in a lower vibration, is the way we've explained it, the category. Because when you work with energy like that, there's always an expectation of something in return versus working with beings of light. Like they won't work with you if you're to a degree. Now let me not put this in a big nutshell, I guess you could say. They won't work with you if you are coming from a big place of ego, so it's harder to connect. They'll work with you, but it's harder to connect with them if you're coming from a place of ego versus a place of like purity. So but when you work with lighter beings, like for example, let's say just Jesus, because I mean that's mainly whatever a lot of people know of. He's considered a being of light. There's no expectation. He's not expecting you to give anything back. And I mean, I'm not talking about religion here. I'm talking about in a spirituality sense, because evidently people say there's different Jesuses based on, whatever. That's fine. But does that make sense? Can you resonate with that as well in terms of like darkness versus light in terms of witchcraft?
Yeah, definitely. I think of when you work with low vibrational entities, there's always a sacrifice. With light beings, there's never a sacrifice, only a blessing, if it's the right kind of positive energy. But usually they'll start out in dark witchcraft because it's easier. It's way much easier to get adapted by the dark, and the dark entities are always quicker in responding and quicker with stuff, giving you things, but then they never think what sacrifice they need to make. because the lower entities work on your ego, but you work on their ego, and maybe they'll give you information now, and maybe in 80 years you'll die of a very strange car accident, but that's how you repay them
Right.
then.
They're going to
So
take from you whether you allow them to or not.
yeah, because you made a pact, and
Yes.
there's the cheesy saying, you made a deal with the devil, and it's always a deal, and a deal goes both ways, not just a single way.
And that's called the law of invitation.
Yeah, also, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's much harder for uh, uh, people that work with the light to get validation and get answers, because um, light beings are like, you just figure it out first and I'll help you along the way, while
Yeah.
dark entities are more like, oh, here it is.
Yes.
It's the easy way out. It's the easy, and that's why so more people are attracted to it, because it works so fast, it works so good, and
Yeah.
and they can do all the stuff the lighter beings can, but it's always at a cost, always.
Yeah.
And they forget that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying, because in reference of like it's easier and stuff, you have to work for your spirituality or even your religion. Like you have to work to get to where you want to be, to have your connection, because if you cannot sit in a quiet place and listen, if you're too distracted by the 3D world, and I'm speaking more so for spirituality, but it goes hand in hand, so there's no really separation in my opinion. It's just your interpretation. um you really have to work for that. It's something that it helps if you have a mentor, or it can take less time if you have a mentor, somebody that's guiding you a little bit and kind of pushing you along your journey, than you just sitting back and trying to like figure it out on your own. Some people, and a lot of people, do that, and that's fine as well. There's nothing wrong with that, not having a mentor, but it just helps to have a support group. And the more people you have, like us three, we create a vibration because we enjoy each other's presence, in which when we all three get together, we can actually raise our vibration together to get more information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So, yeah. So, in terms of witchcraft, that would be like a coven. That's why we call ourselves the Sanderson sisters, just to be silly, but it's another point. But I personally don't identify as being a witch or anything, but I do enjoy my kind of like Appalachian folk magic stuff. But I think there's a respect thing that comes along with it, because I guess that would be maybe the final thing before we ask you the final question would be the how do you feel about respecting the boundaries of somebody calling themselves a witch? Because I do certain things that can be considered witchy, right? But I don't call myself a witch because I don't necessarily follow that path, and I think it's disrespectful. So how do you feel about that?
I was gonna say the same thing, Chas. Like I feel the same way. Like I do things that may be considered witchcraft, but I feel like that I don't know enough, and or like there's just some I just feel like I can't be considered a witch just because of A, my knowledge, but B, like I don't know.
It's just not your path. It's not your
Yeah.
intent. Maybe is that what you're trying to say?
No, it's kind of more of like what you said for yourself.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I've learned. I mean, I have to say, I'm not by any means a master at what I do, but I do have a guide that is of a native descent. I don't know if she was full blood native in life, but one of my guides, and she's my grandmother, and she's the one that helps me with like the different things that I do involving clearing and cleansings with candles, and making things for myself that are kind of made out of herbs and stuff of the such. She, even though I've done my research, and it doesn't always stick with you, you read a book and you might not remember 50% of it unless you're really good at retaining information about what each and every herb is for. So I have that general knowledge. But when I go to do something that generally involves clearing and cleansings, because I do other things personally for myself, but when I'm doing it even for myself or somebody else, everybody's is a little different. Even though I use like the same like 7 ingredients for that process, I can use different things depending on the person, and I'm always guided to do certain things and what I've done to test that theory and to know that I'm receiving well at first, because now I definitely know, because my connection's a little bit stronger, I can feel it better basically. um I've done the candle work first and I trusted in spirit to help me. And then when I go back and I do like the research, I'll go back on Google and Google everything and it will fit perfect. So I know that this craft kind of, I guess you could say, is in my blood, it's in my roots. But this to me feels either native or very like Appalachian-y, like again, folk magic. It's not quite the same though. It's a little different. Maybe shaman, actually, like
Shaman is a better word. You're more a
yeah.
shaman. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I've considered just looking in. I want to learn more about it because I have a feeling I'll resonate with that more. I don't know. Maybe one day that might be something I want to study, but at this time, not necessarily. But I do think it's fascinating how there's these overlapping areas in life of just what people consider normal, even in like religion, like even in Christianity, some of the things they do are ritualistic, but it's so looked down upon because it's not done in, Jesus name, which is kind of sad. And I don't hate on anybody at all for choosing to be a Christian. That's their purpose. That wouldn't be right. It's not right to, you can agree or disagree, and I see some of that, but I just find it fascinating. Things overlap between all things. There's some truth to everything because it's what people believe, we manifest it, right? So yeah.
So there are a couple of ways to to identify, I think, as a witch. So to put it very bland, witch, if you are a witch, if you mingle, no, if you have the knowledge to the energies and know how to manipulate the energy around you. That's basically what a witch, wizard, warlock is. But the old witchcraft books, they say that you can be identified as a witch if you practice for 1 year and 1 day starting on Halloween. If you practice, so writing stuff down and really take it like a study, take it, really get learning for 1 year and a day, because then you've done the whole wheel of the year, the whole circle, and then you'll start your practice. All the ways to identify is just call yourself a witch. If it feels right, it feels right. In my first 3 or 4 years, I wasn't a witch. I made sure I looked into the history. I made sure I was knowledge about what I could do or wanted to do. Um, uh, learning is a big thing. You have a big thirst for learning all types of things, because you can manipulate and play with it always. So um, those are like the three staples to me that makes you like a witch, like a full-fledged witch, and not just I'm a witch. That's yeah. So and it's you gotta have an understanding and how everything works and how everything, and almost be a little bit looking, like predicting, looking into future, like this is how it's gonna turn out and that's it, no other way. It's do I make sense?
I see what you're saying. It's about setting the intention to become what you desire.
Yeah, I when I started out, I wasn't comfortable with calling myself a witch because I still had the dogma of a bad witch in my head. Witches are bad
Oh
and
yeah.
evil and they do bad shit, and I wasn't resonating with that because I'm full of light, so I don't resonate. But
Yeah.
as I learned like the history, it's very important, the history, how many normal women were hanged because they were thought of being a witch, and real witches being hanged because they were witches, and how it evolves in the 70s with the hippie era, and how it evolves in the new age, and how it evolves now. This is a different time from the new age. I can feel it.
Yeah.
It's all yeah. It's just when you're comfortable with it. When you're comfortable with it, you can call yourself a witch. It doesn't
Right.
need any practice. You can be a witch from day one or a witch from day 300, and it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's just
Right.
don't go spreading around misinformation, because I hate that. Oh, I hate it so much.
Yeah. It's not safe. People don't
No.
understand how powerful their intent is, and in turn, how powerful magic can be. Like I tell people all the time, magic is very real. We are actually under certain magical influences just because we're breathing right now. In my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for everybody on this get together here, but I personally believe that there are certain powers that do try to manipulate energy because they understand it, and they also do this through astrology, and certain things, and they make choices. I say they, I'm keeping this very broad, and the listeners can fill in the blank of who they want to put there, because I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say they use astrology and witchcraft to maneuver and make things happen
Yeah,
energetically
yeah.
because they understand energy. It is no different than what I personally do when I go and help clear somebody's house or clear them. I I basically do, my own energy work, just like I was talking about with the rainbow and the white light and all that stuff, and how I use the different colors to do different things and yada yada, and stuff like that. Or they have different meanings, and it is very similar, but it's not even really totally different. It's just a different label. And there's a lot of things in life like that. Um, it's fascinating, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring you on, not just because you're super awesome special, and not just because we want listeners that may be interested in this stuff to get some, like, an introductory, message from somebody that has quite a bit of experience like yourself in this practice. I guess you say it's not quite a spiritual, or your spiritual journey.
That's a
Is there
little bit
any
of both.
Yeah, for sure. It's very intertwined. Is there
Yes.
anything else you want to add before we ask the final question about warnings, or any advice before you start practicing, like things to look out for? Do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. Of course, I really enjoy this. It's a fun. It's good to look back inside my own head and how I started, and how I what I things I wished to know before I got into the craft. And
That's awesome. Thank
um,
you. You're very welcome, and thank you for being here.
So, how has this shaped you to who you are today?
immensely, let me tell you. When I first started out, I had no confidence. I was always in my own shell. I was in a dark place. Like I didn't see reason for living, so why not mingle in black magic? And now I use it to I've more confidence. I radiate light, as I like to say. Um, if you do good, it brings good, and it's definitely true. And I'm more outgoing, and it like I said, it's also just a big part of fancy psychology. And if you do it right, you'll grow inside and outside, and it'd be a great experience just to do it.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you come from a place, and I think even I can agree with that, like, even with my spirituality journey, because, like, I don't know, I just always felt like something was missing, and I wasn't always the happiest person. And even though my life is completely different now than it was before I started in a physical sense, because I was able to do more physically than I am now in my current state, I'm still happier than I was when I was at working and being able to actually be on my feet 8 hours a day working and making money. Even though I'm not able to do that currently, like I would like to, or at the rate I would like to, I'm still happier than I was then, because I'm comfortable in my spiritual journey. I don't know. That's just how I can describe it, and I can totally relate to that.
I'm the
Yeah.
same way. Like, I was making a good amount of money at my job, but until even though I had a shitty health situation happen that took me out of work, I'm still happier now because I've been able to sit and learn about certain things. And yeah, it just has made me happier.
Yeah, you've been able, just like me, and even Veronique's had some time where we can all step outside of the 3D element of life, like the constant routine, go, go, go. pay bills, constantly go. We've actually had time to slow down. And when you have these times to slow down, that's when you connect with your spiritual guidance in whatever form that may be, whether it's, witchcraft or a certain religion or anything else. Like, having that time is sacred, it is special. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I honestly suggest people to really try to find that sacred time to where you can just be one with yourself, and in my terms, be one with spirit, one with the light, one with higher vibrational beings. So
First, start out with being comfortable on your own. Like sit in a room for an hour and just let it all happen. Just be okay with it, and then
agree.
yeah, that's
Mhm.
because like you said, we're all being rushed, and to me it's like working for the man. Like, you need a job from 9 to 5, and you need to work 5 days a week, and we're always so far in the future that we forget to look in the here and the now. And um like I said, the magic is in the little things. So to truly appreciate, um I don't know. Oh, good example, I almost started crying 2 days ago because oh, story time. Yes, story time. So I believe I manifested my cat, and I had a different cat, and I got her as a rescue, and we installed a cat door, and we saw her 3 times, and then she ran away and never came back. So I hope she's in a forest somewhere, being happy and hunting mice and shit.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
But then I always said I wanted a forest cat, a Norwegian, a Siberian, a Maine Coon. Like, I really love the big cats. And well, it's been like half a year, and the cat has not come back, and I'm sad. I want to get a new kitty. And I used to go to the shelter in one area, and they only had 2 cats, so it was not really like worth the drive to find out. And I didn't vibe with the picture online, so we went to another shelter, which I don't vibe with at all. It's just they take good care of the animals, and it's they're good for them, but I don't know. I don't like the vibes of there. But we went anyways because they had like 28 cats, so options enough. And we went there, and we were in, and we looked at a couple of cats, shy cats, active cats, old cats, and I couldn't really click. And then all of a sudden I heard a forest cat. I heard a colleague say to another colleague, yeah, we have this forest cat, and this and that. And I look at my boyfriend, I'm like, oh, no way. And they ask us a few questions because the cat apparently slapped some kid, and that's why they put it in the shelter. And no, we don't want kids. And okay, we could go and see it. So then we walked in the room, and there she was sitting on a ledge in the full sunlight, front paws against each other, just being majestic as fuck, shivering from the golden sunlight. And I'm like, this is it. I get chills again. This is it. This is my cat.
That's
And
awesome.
and the thing is, she was not even 10 minutes in. She wasn't checked up on the doctor, nothing. And we were there, and we could take her home. And usually those cats, they are very expensive, and they usually get rehomed instead of put in a shelter. So it was just meant to be. It was just meant to be. And I do feel like a very, very strong connection to that cat, more than the other cat. We have 2 cats. And that was the moment I manifested my cat. But that was almost 4 years ago. And last Tuesday, finally, she went onto my lap, and I could pet her. And it took 4 fucking years for her to trust me enough so she could be on my lap and I could pet her. And it was the most magical time ever. It was great.
Yeah, that's actually really cool, because my dog's
Yeah.
like that. V, my fiance, he picked out the dog, and he has a story, not like it's similar vibe to your story. Yeah, I think animals definitely choose us to a degree,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
vice versa. Well, where can people find you? Like, what is your internet name? Where would you like for people to go if they have any questions, or if they're interested? I know you're in the beginning phases of kind of starting some social media stuff. So would you like to share that?
Yeah, so I've been physically not well, and I believe in that my mind, body, and soul has to be in line for order to let me help other people. So my life was a mess. I have accounts on YouTube, Instagram, and yeah, on YouTube and Instagram, and it's called The Anomalous Witch. And I have a few things there, not too many, but I'm in the process of starting up again because my life is back on track now almost. So yeah, I'll be happy to make more content. What I really love to do is helping people with spells, and it's not so much that I make a spell for you and you just do it. No, we actively, like a teacher, I go sit alongside you, working on your spell, helping you make the right kind of spell, be sure that you make the right kind of decisions for the spell to work. Yeah, just like a mentor, like a coach. You can always direct message me on Instagram. I will reply most of the time. We do have, if you live in America, we do have an 8-hour zone difference. So if I don't react right away, I will react as fast as I can in the morning or something.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the average. That's like Central America, the center of America.
yeah,
So if you're on the West Coast, it's an hour, up to 2 hours more if you're past, like I think in Hawaii or parts of Alaska, or a couple hours ahead. So for us, it's 6 hours. So it's a 6 to 9 hour difference for those, depending on where you live, just to make sure the listener knows.
yeah, but I'm always down for talk, and I'm always down to ask questions, and I'm an open book, and I can see it from both perspectives, light and dark, or in between. I'll never judge you for it. I'll only give my advice, and what you do with it is your business. But I'm happy to help, and I'll help for free. Also, help for free, free help, guys, free hands out. Um, but yeah, I'm always down to talk. I'm always down to share perspectives and to help. And if spells gone wrong or something, I'm sure I can help. And otherwise, the other two ladies can help. We're
Yeah, for
I
sure.
I don't want to brag, but we're kind of like the dream team.
Yeah. Yep.
You
We do
know?
help each other and vice versa if we have questions. And yeah, we're always down to give a little bit of advice. And that's the Anomalous Witch, guys. And we'll include her links down below too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to like just search. We'll have her information pinned in the description box or the show notes. However, you're listening to this podcast.
So it might be a little bit empty, but I'm always there. So you just feel free to message me. It's always good. I don't judge. It's always okay.
That sounds awesome sauce. Well, Veronique, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing some of your plethora of knowledge about
Yeah.
witchcraft and giving people advice that, maybe starting out, and maybe the opposite of casting a shadow on it, like actually shedding some light on the craft. So,
Yes, light. We need
exactly.
more
And
light witches.
yes, and you were talking about the spiritual warfare. It's important. Like I've said this several times throughout the season, this has not changed. There is a division spiritually. There always has been, but right now it's very predominant. There is darkness, there is light, and there are people that are called coming online basically, and people are choosing whichever side. And society is heading towards that division, and this division is what's going to cause us to basically start a new cycle. We are in the transformative phase of humanity right now. So anywhere that you can bring in light and love, if that's your thing, I'm not pressuring anybody here, but just doing kind things in general from a place of love and purity and selflessness always projects love and light, and it puts it out into the universe. And I'm a firm believer what we put out, we do get back. I've had that proven to me time and time again. So yeah, definitely. If you have any questions for Veronique, hit her up. We'll have her stuff in the description box. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
All right, guys, we're going to
Well,
go
guys,
ahead
what
and
did you
end
think
this
about this
part of the
interview?
podcast. But if
We
you
are
hang
so
around, we will be
happy
doing
that
our
Veronique
outro.
could
Probably
join
have
us
a
today, and
few more
I
bits of
actually
information to
personally
share
learned a
with you
lot
guys.
from our
And
discussion. How
for
about you, Chas?
the trio, the
For sure.
Sanderson
Yeah,
sisters,
and I definitely think it's
that's
good
a
that
wrap.
we
We just covered the basics, like the basic stuff. Because, we're not trying to get too deep into that at this time. Wink, wink, hint, hint. We've got a lot of time left to talk more about this. Not in this season, but maybe later. I don't know. We're going to talk.
I almost said
probably
that's
more
what she said.
Yeah, she literally did. She literally did. I think
know.
it's going to be not in. In the recording, it might be left in or it might be edited out, just in case y'all did or did not hear it. But we might be doing some more stuff with Veronique in the future. Super exciting. And yeah, thank you, Veronique. It was a pleasure. And guys, this concludes basically episode 28. Again, we have 29, which we have a super special, awesome guest coming in for 29. I'm not ready to release that name yet either, but I did drop a hint in the last episode at the very end in the outro. And then we have episode 30, which is going to be a little different, but it's not going to be one you want to miss. So we'll be releasing the details on those, but you definitely want to check out, at the very least, the last episode, but you're not going to want to miss the episode 29 either, because our super awesome special guest is really actually super awesome, and I would say fairly well known in the true crime community.
Oh, yeah.
I will say she has a very interesting path, and she has a very, very interesting guide that we're going to talk about, which some people may consider taboo. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving away too much, because some people may know and some people may not know. But she has a very interesting spirit guide that's kind of controversial among some people.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to leave everybody in suspense there. So, Emily, do you have any final words?
I'm melting. Just kidding. No, I don't know.
That's perfect, because that's a wrap.
Good.
No, fuck that. I take that back. I'm over Wizard of Oz. That's a wrap. Hey, if you have a haunted story you want to share, you can email us at lightsatmidnightpodcast@gmail.com. Get in touch with us there. We'd love to hear from you. We really appreciate y'all hanging around and checking it out. And yeah, thank you so much. We are super excited to bring you some super awesome content. We really appreciate you guys checking us out.
Thank you to all that took the time to listen to this week's episode. Your support means the world to us. And remember, all of us have the ability to shine brightly and shed positivity, even in the darkest of places. Stay safe, stay well, and light it up!